recording. Okay, and then
Get ready to hear a lot about Wheaton, by the way.
oh,
He just messaged me now.
oh really?
I got a lot of Wheaton lines ready to go.
Oh God. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Okay, where do I want this to go? Page I manage.
I'm gonna laugh when this thing collapses. You should see this ghetto setup I'm gonna take a picture of this and show this fucking setup I have right here.
That's so ghetto.
It's like a cloth bag with a freaking box on it. Hey, you know what though? Any port in a storm, man. Any port in a storm.
Yep.
I'm getting a sore throat.
You sound kind of hoarse, actually.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a pony today, a little hoarse. I noticed on the podcast, I could tell. Remember, I was stuffed up.
Yep, I could hear that a little bit.
I could hear it, and I was definitely muffled. I think it was because of these sound reduction, fucking whatever the fuck they're called.
No, I didn't think you sounded muffled at all.
I did. I don't know. I fucking whatever. But I'll probably come down with a cold or something inoperable.
Oh God.
I'm losing my sight. I'm losing my sight. Are you there?
Jesus. This is our Facebook Live. Which one?
8.5, right? Right?
Yes.
Rat. I'm a rat.
Well, Facebook Live 8. It would be episode 8.5.
All right. Rat.
Okay, we're gonna go live.
All right.
Jesus.
What?
Just the way you're flailing around. I just noticed that on the video. It was a little bit slow.
Yeah, I'm a little bit slow, right? I'm a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Okay, apparently we're live now. Finally.
Yeah, come on, look at that, huh? About friggin' time. No, that was an adventure. That was exciting.
Yep.
I just spilled my whole fucking water.
What?
Nothing. It's fine. I'm such a fucking moron sometimes.
You spilled your water.
I have a water because I've got beer here, obviously too. Obviously.
And the first comment is from Ben. #Team Wheaton. #Team Howard.
Oh, coming out,
so we have
strong.
Ben, Manuel, and Allie watching. So hey guys.
Oh, cool.
Apologies for the delay. We were having issues with technology that usually we do. Fucker. What was that? A minute until I said my first swear?
You broke the record. No, you didn't break the record, actually. That's like a top 5 for you, though.
It is.
You know, and I have to do this from my bunker deep in the bowels of Stately Weeks Manor. Can't sit outside today.
Only one survived the war with both arms there, Mayor. Well, only one was the right-wing commander on the March to the Sea. So.
Only one, because I saw this on the internet, so I know it's true. Only one has a bionic arm and red eyes. Howard. So, I mean, Ben makes a very valid point. And being a New Englander, I would probably tend to agree with most of what he says. But I think the Howard, it's tough. That's a tough one. You guys can fight that. You guys can arm wrestle over that one, okay?
Thanks, Weeks. You're supposed to be Team OO.
I am Team OO. I'm trying to satisfy the masses too. I'm trying to play it. I'm trying to be Switzerland here.
Really?
I don't know. For now, we'll see how it goes. Maybe you should stop calling me fucker. Maybe that's part of the problem.
I'll remember that fucker.
Wow. So
Allie said, hey, I'm about to head on a road trip and I'm going to convince my husband to listen to this in the car. That's awesome.
Oh, cool. Definitely.
Cool.
So look like you have your 6 cups of coffee and your 4 Red Bulls, whatever else you've done to get ready because you're all fired up.
Me?
But yes, you. There was some tenuous moments a little while ago with those messages when we couldn't get signed on to Zoom.
Yeah, I was near tears. I was gonna cry. And then like my neighbor who's kitty corner to me, they were out like with a saw and their yappy little rat dog. And then I have a bit of like a migraine right now. So yeah, it's been an all around great morning, the Fincher house.
Let's see. This won't work. This is beyond fucking frustrating. I'm gonna cry. We're paying for this shit. This is how my morning's gone, by the way. Just
me bitching about Zoom. Well, how does it feel to have someone bitching at you?
How does it feel? Yeah, hi, I'm Darren. Nice to meet you.
Fucker.
Fucker's right. Anyway, so
another Allie is watching. Ben said beer helps migraines. Yeah.
If that's the case, you would never have a migraine.
Yeah, shut up.
Well, okay, fine.
Why don't you go sit in the corner?
Go ahead, finish it.
Go fuck yourself.
It's been a fun week with this.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Actually.
Anyway, so it's great to see people signing on.
Yeah,
it is
awesome.
a little bit late today because we had some Fincher related issues with the Zoom. It was Zoom related.
It was completely 100%
Zoom was being a bitch.
Zoom.
So
yeah.
You know.
Hi, Amy.
I don't see anybody signing on. I'm trying to pay attention to this, but so anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful day out, but there's some work being done on my deck, so I have to sit down here in this room, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
I have the perfect smell of a weight room and a cat box to work with, so I'm doing good down here.
Maybe Butler will come down and pay you.
That'd be awesome. That'd be fantastic.
And then he could be on the screen.
He can make his TV debut.
Yep. He's made his internet debut many times, and he made his podcast debut last night.
Yes, he's gonna be able for royalties pretty soon from the Civil War podcast. But anyway, hope people had a good chance to listen to the podcast. I thought it was a good one. It was always fun to talk about Chickamauga. And hello to everybody signing on. Hello, Jacob. And we have the dueling Allies today, which is cool. We have J squared, and A squared now.
Yep. So Allie said, I made it back from my road trip in time to watch you guys. A good way to start the day. Oh, thank you. And yeah, your pictures from your road trip are awesome, Allie. Allie just like went on a Civil War road trip. It was pretty epic. I think she went to Shiloh, Vicksburg, Lookout Mountain, Chickamauga, and Gettysburg. I hope I'm getting that right.
What are you saying?
Allie, she just got back from an epic road trip. And Amy said, hey kids, today's the 22nd anniversary of my first trip to Gettysburg. That's awesome.
You know what's so cool about that, in all seriousness, is I do it too. People know their first trip to a place like Gettysburg and the anniversaries out of it.
Yep.
Mine was April 9th, 2009 was my first trip to Gettysburg. I was a late bloomer to finally get down there. But everybody remembers their first trip like that. Fritz is joining. Hello, Fritz.
Hey, Fritz.
My Fiji bro living in New Mexico.
Hello, Chickamauga and merely Darren. Greetings from the book and Napler.
It didn't take him long to figure this whole thing out, that's for sure. but I'm glad we got this thing finally signed on. So initial thoughts of the Chickamauga.
I gotta say hi to two ladies that just signed
all right, well,
like Liza and Denise are both watching, and they are they're two ladies we interact with quite a bit on Facebook, and we have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, definitely good to see them. And glad you spell your name right. Yeah, that's funny.
This is the most we've ever had watching. There's 18 people.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Well, I'm signed on 15 of them here, so that's just really 3.
Are you? Thanks.
No, it's fine. Anyways, as I was saying, looks like your mood's a little bit better in the last 15 minutes. So you did a 180, that's for sure.
Well, I said we were going to go live at like 10 o'clock, and then like 10:02, I send you the invite, and then
in a 10:16, you had that John Wayne Gacy look in your eye. But now you're better, so that's a good thing.
I am much better.
Too funny. Anyway, so we'll have some fun with this. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot of stuff about Chickamauga, which is a good way to finish up that podcast. A good battle. I enjoyed it. It's always good to study a little bit more about the battles in the West, which I'm a little bit not as strong as the Eastern ones on, but certainly you were the they don't call you Chickamauga for nothing. So that was your that was your battle. You did had a fun with that. Did you you learn anything new about this one yourself?
I did. Like, I did more of a dive into it than I've ever done before, and it was really, really interesting. I understand the breakthrough better and what happened with that communication breakdown, that it wasn't just, like Wood getting this order to move. There was this whole communication breakdown between like Brannon and Reynolds saying, who was it? It was Brannon and Reynolds deciding that Brannon would go when Kellogg came along, Thomas's aide de camp and nephew. And they were like, yeah, we'll send Brannon. And then he leaves to go tell Rosecrans. And then Brannon and Reynolds were like, yeah, you know what? You can't leave. And nobody bothers to go tell Rosecrans. It's Garfield who usually writes the orders, and he doesn't. So Rosecrans dictates it to another guy, doesn't bother to read it. And then the other communication breakdown is that the order should have gone to Crittenden, who was Wood's corps commander, and it doesn't. It goes right to Wood, and Wood is all, what the fuck? But he does what the order says because he doesn't want to get court-martialed, because he's like this close to getting court-martialed. So
he had to follow it. Even McCook told him, dude, you got to follow the fucking order. It's a complete mess. It's like Mudge in the second mass at Gettysburg. It's murder, but it's an order. And he knew it. But what's funny was, we talked about the communication issues all throughout that battle, and it was really on both sides. But you think about what are the odds that Hood's 11,000 man spearhead with our boy Bushrod Johnson, who he's spinning in his grave. He has never been this famous, by the way, with the love we've been giving Bushrod Johnson lately. So it's because his name was Bushrod Johnson is a big part of why we're talking about him.
And we called him Bushrad.
Bushrad. That was because he had the sweatband on.
That's his alter ego that he uses at Rough and Ready.
Yeah, to go visit those cheerleaders.
Rough and Ready.
Harkens back to our Atlanta podcast, Rough and Ready, Georgia.
Rough and Ready.
Oh, we need a Rough and Ready t-shirt, Mara.
I know. There should be like an I'm with Rough and an I'm with Ready t-shirt. People can wear together.
That'd be fun.
That would be hilarious.
That'd give him a spook down at the old Orange Julius at the mall, wouldn't it? But anyway, but you look at just the odds of that, and it's no surprise the Confederates won that battle when you look at the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And you and I had a debate the other day about George "The Rock" Thomas.
We did. It was actually a good
debate.
Debate.
Yeah, you started to get a little fired up, actually.
Not.
Yes, you did. She did.
Did not.
I think you gave me the finger for no reason. But we were talking about we were talking about, he gets the nickname the Rock of Chickamauga. And he had retreated, and so he wasn't at Snodgrass Hill. He was back, and it was a lot of the other guys, guys like the 9th Ohio and 22nd Indiana, and those guys who really were the ones who firmed up that 1 mile-long defensive barrier that held them off. And we were just debating. In the end, I was proven wrong because fucking wrong.
You were not. I said I fucking agreed with you.
Well, okay. I guess you agree with me.
He's lying.
Lying. Who do you think is okay? Whatever. But we were trying to talk about who deserves more credit for that. Would it be George Thomas, or would it be those regimental commanders, those colonels who all fell back from Kelly Field into Snodgrass Hill to build that defense when there really were no orders? It was kind of a, watch it now, hodgepodge of.
Look at you.
We're taking it to a high undulations, hodgepodge,
rolling hills.
It's not rolling hills.
It's
the same
fucking thing.
Look, maybe on those low class podcasts we can say rolling hills, but not on the Civil War Breakfast Club. It's undulations.
Well, if you want a high class podcast, then you're doing this wrong.
Anyway, so we were talking about specifically where it was that the soldiers in those commanders, and I'm just giving you shit. Yes, you agree with me. I think there was a Darren was right phrase somewhere in there, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
I don't like to say that very much because I don't want to give you an ego, but anyway.
I have no ego. Generally, I have no ego.
Generally, I have no Legos. The Lego discussion. For those that were here last week, you remember the Lego discussion. No, but getting back to your point, made me look at it in a different way, because I've always believed Chickamauga to be a soldier's battle simply because of just the way the terrain was, and that the way stuff where like brigades and regiments are fed in piecemeal. They don't have their division commanders in some case to tell them what to do, and they most definitely don't have their corps commanders, and like they have to do it on their own. So soldiers are having to make a lot of the decisions in this battle. And when you put it to me, like, does Thomas deserve the credit, or is it those men that came over? I do see your point of view, and I agree with that. Like, it is definitely, yeah. See, this is why I don't like to agree with him, because then he goes on and on about it. He'll go on and on for the next.
I'm just going to sit over here and be right.
Hey, Leonard.
But you know what, though? And I got thinking, which is never a good thing. I got thinking, do you think that's why there really aren't any general statues at Chickamauga?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, Chickamauga is a very different battlefield than Gettysburg. At Gettysburg, you have you've got you've got Hancock, you've got Meade. Like, you've got these general statues all over the battlefield. There's not one at Chickamauga. It is all monuments to, like, corps, division, brigades, regiments, and all that. And they're all over the place. And they're even tucked into the woods too, which makes Chickamauga a really fun battlefield to explore. And this is at Gettysburg too. And we were actually discussing this on Facebook this week too, like, regarding monuments and all that. But you can go off the beaten path at Chickamauga and find all these different monuments that are just tucked away that maybe nobody's been to see in quite a while. And that's why I think it's really, really cool to go there. Is just for that reason.
Well, what's interesting about the monuments is, I don't know if we mentioned it in the podcast or not. You mentioned it a million times to me, but Chickamauga was the first real national battlefield, right? So that was the first one. Now Gettysburg, if anybody who's been in Gettysburg knows, there's like 1,300 monuments. There's like 1,280 Union, like 30 Confederate. Just there's different reasons, but it really started with the monuments. Like the first Minnesota put that first monument in the National Cemetery, that big urn thing. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that, right? Yeah. And then it kind of went from there, and then it turned into like almost states, kind of like, well, if New York has one, then Pennsylvania's got to have one, and Pennsylvania has one, and so there was kind of a snowball effect, especially on the Confederate side, where the Virginia Monument went in. People think it's the Robert E. Lee Monument, but it's really the Virginia Monument. Yeah, and that spurred, Jesus, there I go, freaking hands. But that spurred the North Carolina Monument in Guts and Boardlam, which I think is the best statue at Gettysburg. I know we're not talking Gettysburg today, but it ended up with, then Tennessee had it, and then you had Texas finally get one, Florida finally pull one in 1963. So I think the perception is those states, because those monuments cost money, that's where the money was going to be spent, in places where people were going to go. And I think the Confederates didn't want to put a lot of statues at a place like Gettysburg, because they didn't think their fans or whatever's were going to go there, because it was so far away. And I wonder if that's kind of the case with Chickamauga, where they just, I don't know, maybe the Union didn't want to put statues there for the fact that it's theoretically in a southern state, and it's a battle they lost. And so,
could have been,
in the Confederates, to be honest, the southern states at the time of that battlefield was developing, didn't exactly have a lot of money, because, Sherman burnt the whole freaking thing down. And so I wonder if that's a big part of it. I wonder if you may see now with this whole monument thing going on, but I wonder if there's going to be down the road a generational change where you're going to start to see monuments being put in. I'm not sure if Chickamauga has like a moratorium on monuments like Gettysburg does, I wonder if it's a situation where it was a money thing at the time. And we'll get down there, we'll look at it, and we'll see all this stuff, and I'll decide who gets a monument around here. Trust me, I'll make that decision. Okay. McCook's getting a monument. Bushrod is getting a monument. Bushrod's going to have a monument with neon flashing on it. Right? It's going to be right in front of a Motel 6 by the hour hotel, flashing. So we got to get that hotel built, and then we'll get the monument built.
The Bushrod.
And then we got to maneuver history to get Hooker down there, so we can put his 30th Corps flag down there. And we'll put that right in front.
We can put it on Lookout Mountain.
That's true.
You could just have like a gigantic sign on Lookout Mountain that says XXX.
I wonder if I petition the battlefield at Chattanooga if they'll do that. we put a big neon XXX on top of Lookout Mountain? They'd probably be cool with that, right?
Sure, you can do that.
Hey, the worst they can say is no. I think we should send it from the Marriott Civil War Breakfast Club email address.
You got it right. Actually, no, you didn't. It's
no, I know it's
Club.
Civil War Breakfast at gmail.com, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. The only monument, I mentioned this on the podcast, I think, the only monument to a general in that area, in the area of Chattanooga, Chickamauga, is at Wrinkled Gap, and it's Claiborne. And
do you know Wrinkled Gap is where the March to the Sea started?
I do, actually. That's my fucking opinion.
A noun, a verb, and Wrinkled Gap is the average Mary sentence structure nowadays. Oh, and Snodgrass Hill. I hope you guys all participated in the drinking game we did during the podcast.
Oh, we can do it again now. Snodgrass, 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 Snodgrass.
Just like saying the word, Snodgrass. Like
and everybody's drunk.
Tell me about it.
Leonard
jumps in real
here.
quick. Yeah, I was going to read some comments. It says that there's a real fight to get Confederate monuments in Vicksburg due to it being a Confederate loss. Okay. Yeah. The Mississippi Monument passed the legislature by a single vote. You know what's so funny? I don't want to spin this off into a whole Confederate monument fiasco with everything going on. But like we mentioned a few weeks ago, is the monument thing is not a new phenomenon.
No, it's not.
People have been arguing and fighting monuments on the Confederate side since the day they went up. And this is the only difference is now you have social media and you have Facebook and you have Twitter that people talk about it. It's not new. It's not new at all. But but it's interesting when you read some of the stories about everything goes. Let me read some of these comments too, since I never get to read comments because I always get shut up.
Fucker.
Ben, why are you drunk at 11 a.m.? Asked Darren Mary. Yes, we are drink enablers too, by the way, not just book enablers. Sometimes you can sneak a drink in a book, by the way. I knew a guy who cut a book off of that. Anyone else like Pennsylvania in particular always big? I can't even freaking read today. Why don't you read that one?
Yeah. Anyone else feel like Pennsylvania in particular always the most massive fucking things everywhere? I am also a World War I geek, was driving in northern France doing battlefields and saw a giant Pennsylvania monument in a tiny village. That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought of that. But yeah, Pennsylvania has some, I think at Lookout Mountain, I hope I'm getting this right, there's a gigantic Pennsylvania monument there too. It takes up the whole fucking park practically that they have up there.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, the Pennsylvania monument at Gettysburg is beautiful. I love it. But yeah, I definitely agree with what Allie's saying here, that there's some massive Pennsylvania monuments.
I mean, makes sense. In Pennsylvania, actually New York had the most soldiers at Gettysburg, believe it or not. And they built those really expensive castle-looking monuments. Whenever you see a castle, it's New York. Speaking of New York, do you know the Yankees lost again last night and their season ended? Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Damn.
Did you hear like the doves flying this morning, chirping, and the sun? Didn't the sun feel a little bit warmer this morning?
It did. The day New York loses is a good day.
The day after the Yankees get eliminated, after spending $500 million on a pitcher, Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And they have no one to blame. They can't blame the crowd. They can't blame the umpires. They can't blame anything but themselves. So like I said, anytime the Yankees get eliminated from the playoffs, an angel gets its wings. And that is an absolute truth. It actually says it in the Bible. You can look it up.
Yeah. Truth. I'm glad New York lost because it makes me feel better about the Indians losing.
Well, hey, there are 11-year-old kids walking the streets of New York City right now who've never seen a Yankee championship.
And hopefully they never will.
And we're digressing. Do you know what the best stat is if you want to use somebody on a Yankee fan? Do you know that 64% of the Yankees World Series championships happened while the last Civil War veteran was still alive?
Wow. Look at you throwing out the math facts.
It's not a math fact. It's just the shit on a Yankee fan fact. Is what it really is. Because I was at Camden Yards, and we'll go back to this in a second, but I was at Camden Yards last summer, and I was shockingly running my mouth at a Yankee fan in an Oriole Yankee game.
I'm shocked.
And there might have been a beer involved or two. And so this guy's talking, the Red Sox at the time were world champions, so I was empowered. And so this guy's like, Red Sox, 27 World Series, all this crap. And I said that thing about the fact. Did you know the 64 blah, blah? He just looked at me and glared. It was the funniest thing. He got like owned historically. It was hilarious, but that's what I did. So anyway, but this good talk about the monuments though. I think when you look at a lot of them, I know we were like going off on it.
We always do.
Yeah, and we don't know if any of the monuments were made with Legos either.
Oh yeah. Oh, Allie just confirmed. Yeah, Lookout Mountain. They have a big old Pennsylvania plaque in the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a plaque or like it's like a Stone Mountain thing?
A plaque. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it looks like now. I know there's something to Pennsylvania there though. And it's typically Pennsylvania big, you know.
Pennsylvania. You got a friend in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania big, whatever the hell that means, but okay.
I just made that up now.
Well, Darius Cooch appreciates that, I suppose, you know. But
Sir John Reynolds does too.
John Reynolds, not anymore, but yeah, he probably did it one time.
Lancaster.
Lancaster. Lancaster. You got to pronounce it right. It's not Lancaster. It's not like Burt Lancaster. It's Lancaster.
I thought Lancaster was the place in Ohio.
No, it's probably, you know what? They're going to have to take that down because it's in Pennsylvania.
Well, Lancaster, Ohio is where Sherman was born.
Yeah, well, not anymore. We got to change the name. We changed the name now. Not anymore. They're going to have to take those signs down. But
it's in the mountain. Alex said it's in the mountain. Okay, so and I think the big monument I'm thinking of might be actually a New York one. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, yeah, but I forget where the hell we're going with this. But anywho, but I think I'm not surprised that a place like Chickamauga would be limited with monuments, just for your point about the soldiers' battle. So I think the one thing I learned by kind of brushing up on this again was the fact that it was a soldier battle, and there really wasn't anybody on the battlefield really who you can really honestly say was in full command. You know,
because it was all over the place.
Like we were saying on the podcast, or maybe we said it offline. I don't know what the hell it is anymore. But it was like a big bar fight. It was like that scene in Blazing Saddles at the end where it spills from one scene to
room to room. It goes from room to room to room. Like you have Kelly Field, Dyer Field, and you finally end up on like Snodgrass Hill. There, everybody take a drink, because I said it again. Snodgrass.
Viva La Trillium.
Yep.
But I think, you know, one of the big things we noticed about that battle was the fact that there really wasn't. It didn't seem like there was anybody in charge. You know, we were talking about before how Buford had sent that message about Howard. You know, to General Meade at Gettysburg, about how there seemed to be nobody in charge. It didn't seem like there was anybody in charge with this, especially when Rosecrans had fallen back to Chattanooga, especially after Thomas had fallen back. And even the Confederate side, you know who probably doesn't get enough credit for this is probably Longstreet. You know, people probably that's more of a lost cause phenomenon about him. So. But whether he had 25 or 26, whatever the hell the number is, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much this was debated at the Cape Cod. Cape Cod. At the Civil War Breakfast Club World Headquarters behind the scenes, because we don't know.
Yeah, I said 25, and he was like, "No, it's 26."
I didn't. Oh, that's exactly what I said, just like that. I said, I read 20. You know what? I'm going to go in the corner.
You should actually, and put your dunce cap on. Fucker.
You need some words that help, Mary. Words that help. You know.
That does help, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go in the corner and go fuck myself. Yeah, that's really words that help. I'm telling you, talking about the whole self-esteem builder right there. I'm gonna go conquer the world now. You know, you should go with Oprah with that advice. By the way, you're really good at that.
I might do that actually.
Tell me about it. Everyone go in the corner and fuck yourself. You go in the corner and fuck yourself. But I think overall, it's definitely a soldier's battle, and I think guys like Longstreet doesn't get enough credit. Obviously. Was this Bushrod Johnson's finest moment? Maybe.
It could be. I mean, there was other generals too that it wasn't their finest moments. And I'm sorry, about Bushrod, was it his finest moment? Yes.
I mean, and you don't hear about guys like him. You don't, for whatever reason. And I think it's a lot of that Eastern bias thing. He didn't fight in the Army of Northern Virginia. He didn't fight with Lee. Everyone's heard of Pickett, and everyone's heard of McLaws. Although McLaws was theoretically at Chickamauga. But he wasn't there because I don't know if he was sick or he was injured or I don't know what he had a day off, who knows. But Kershaw had taken over that division for him. But he was actually on paper one of the division commanders in that battle. But Kershaw ultimately took it over. And then you got guys like Ben Cheatham in this battle, Hinman, William Preston, Law. It seemed like there was a lot of big names, obviously Claiborne, Breckinridge, Liddell. See, I said it right that time.
Yeah, you did.
Been practicing.
Manigault, another Confederate. Yeah. I think he fights with No, he doesn't fight with Clayburn. And then there was Govan, who was one of Clayburn's friends. He's fighting in this battle too. There's a whole, and that's the thing, like I've always said about Chickamauga, and I see it in Gettysburg as being, I see all battles as being equal in some way, because they all contribute to the Civil War and our learning and understanding of it. And I've always said, like, Chickamauga, there are so many interesting characters there that are just as interesting as the ones that are fighting at Gettysburg. Like, you have someone like William Lytle, who is the warrior poet that I talked about, that I really, he's the one Union general I'm really attached to in this battle, is Lytle. And he is out with his men, riding out in front, encouraging them. And they are the last, like, and again, this battle too, the one thing that I came away seeing it more is it is about buying time. Minty and Wilder buying time on the 19th or on the 18th, the first day of the battle. And then Lytle buying time because his men are the last to retreat, and that's after he's killed. And the other interesting thing that we both learned about Lytle is that he was a Freemason, and that's probably why the Confederates protected his body. Like,
it's definitely why they did. There's no question he did. The fact that he got the Maltese cross right there, that we talked about, it absolutely 100% proves it. There's no question. There's literally no question. Which is pretty cool. And like we mentioned on the podcast, we are definitely going to do a Freemasons at Gettysburg. We're going to bring our friend Super Bill Mooney in to talk about that. He's a maybe we get Matt Atkinson to come on too.
No, that would be cool. I think the Freemason, the Freemasons are something that has fascinated me for a long time, and National Treasure is like hands down my favorite movie.
We rule the world.
I know you do.
We're part of a secret society that owns everything. I already know. I already know who's going to win the World Series this year. We already know.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to win the World Series weeks?
Red Sox.
That's funny because they're not playing right now.
That's what's going to make it weird. There's going to be controversy.
Doesn't your shirt say next year?
It does say next year, because you know why? Next year we're going to win again. Listen to with the Indians. What was it, 1840 when the last one? The last time the Indians won the World Series, they really were Indians. That's how long it's been.
Fucker.
So we're gonna convert you to a Red Sox fan eventually. I got you on the Patriots. I got you on the Patriot bandwagon.
You did get me on the Patriots.
We're gonna get you on the Red Sox
bandwagon. You've almost got me on Boston College too.
Oh, you'll be on the Boston College bandwagon.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yep, I can.
Fucking ridiculous.
Gabe says 11th Pennsylvania Infantry plaque is about 9 by 9 right in the mountain face. The 29th Pennsylvania Infantry has a huge plaque in the mountain face as well. Both are on Craven's Trail. I've just been up to Point, I think it's called Point Park, which is where all the Civil War stuff is, on Lookout Mountain. I've never hiked any of the trails that are there, but I want to sometime.
You gotta do is hike. You gotta hike Kennesaw sometime.
Oh yeah, that's life goals right there.
Kennesaw's a great hike.
We're gonna go do that when we go because it's not that far.
You better bring your walking shoes, Fincher, because you're gonna be doing some walking.
You know me, I can walk all day.
I don't want to hear any complaining. Oh my God, it sucks.
Yeah, that'll be you. Oh my God, keep up with me, fucker.
Luckily, my sound cut out. I didn't hear such dispersions. So Ben jumps in. Was it a Red Sox Yankee game in the Bronx? And two guys were going at it. The Yankee fan says, "You can't even afford Fenway. You had to trade Ruth," which is true actually. The Sox fan came back. "At least we can afford cream in our clam chowder." Well played, Manchester. Manhattan clam chowder is bullshit. I went to Yankee Stadium at a Red Sox Yankee fan with a Yankee Sucks T-shirt on. That's how I did. I went
to a Blue Jays game with my parents, and they were playing the fucking Yankees, and I went fully decked out in my Indian stuff.
That told him.
Yeah, I had my Lindor shirt on, and somebody's like, "You're at the wrong game," and I'm like, "No, I'm not, fucker."
You're going to get someone around you killed someday, and
it's probably going to be you.
It's probably a matter of time.
Face it. Killed by Mary.
Some bar somewhere, killed at Gettysburg.
Gabe said you can thank John Banks for the information. Yeah, John Banks. Do you follow him on Twitter? He's a cool guy.
I do. John Banks is my boy. He's a good guy. John Banks is someone who has a really good Facebook and Twitter page. He's from the that area, the Nashville area. He's giving me shit for the Patriots Titans playoff game last year. Can you believe that he did?
Wow, I can't even.
John Banks. That. Yeah, he chirps. He's a good chirper with this Nashville. I didn't meet him when I was down there, but I've talked to him online a million times about football, ironically.
That's cool.
And he's definitely not a Patriot fan.
Not many people are.
They're American. The Patriots are the real America's team, Mary. Okay.
Well,
they really are.
I don't follow Canadian Football League, so.
No, not a big
CFL. No.
Edmonton Eskimos fan. Is that what they are up there? The Toronto Argonauts. Am I thinking the right thing?
Yeah. I've been to an Argos game before. It was boring. Scott says, reading Shelby Foote's trilogy made me reflect about why each battle, even the smallest, were important. If even because some town or city somewhere had fathers, sons, and brothers that were not to return. It's always easy to think small battles didn't mean much with small casualty numbers. That's true. That's actually a really good point. Like, when you think about it, like, if you're downplaying one battle, there's somebody's father, you know, or whatever, like, ancestor that was killed there, and to them it might be like their favorite battle for that reason, and it means something to them. So I think that's why all battles like are important to look at, because
all battles matter.
I was just thinking that all battles matter.
Else all battlefields. You know what though? We've talked about this before. You don't choose your battlefield. Your battlefield chooses you. You know, it's like the Sorting Hat of Harry Potter. It really is. Some people get Gettysburg in their blood. Some people get Antietam. Yep. Some people get Chickamauga. Some people get Vicksburg. What else doesn't matter. Glory got to pass. Fucking pick one. But whatever battle resonates to you for whatever reason, whether it be a familial type thing, whether it be where you just go there and you feel like, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be, which is kind of like me with Gettysburg.
Yep, that's how I was with Gettysburg when I visited there when I was 10, which I'm not going to do the math on that. I'm 38 now, so everybody else can do the math. And when my first visit to, how many years ago my first visit to Gettysburg?
It's not that hard. The number's 48.
Fucker, it is not.
It's too easy. But I mean,
it's been 48 years and you're like 100 fucking years old now.
Yeah, but you know what? The exercise works good though. Still alive. You know.
Look at you go.
I could be a ghost for all you know. You don't even know.
I'll always be 11 years younger.
Be a Fig Newton of your imagination, you know. But I think, but every battlefield is going to call out, is going to resonate with certain people, and I think that's why, you know, there's always that debate: does Gettysburg get more publicity? Of course it does, but just because. But you know why? It's because it calls out to people more, and for whatever reason, it just does. Was it the most important battle of the war? No, it wasn't. It wasn't even the biggest and most important battle in the East. I think we both can agree Antietam was, for a million reasons.
Definitely, yep. Antietam was the most important battle of the Civil War, I think, because it sets the stage for how the rest of the Civil War is going to go. You know, it was so important. And that's another battle that I learned so much about in the research of it. So interesting. So we have a few more comments here. Jen's watching. Hey, Jen.
Jen says, I feel like Gettysburg and Antietam fight for custody of me. Okay, here's the deal. Gettysburg gets you 3 days a week. Okay, Antietam gets you 4. Yeah. And then after a couple of years, we'll review it again as you get older.
Yeah,
and
we'll look at it.
Then that's how it's going to go. So that's how it is right now. Fritz, shit, Darren, you know that bullshit is going to bring me out of the woodwork. I don't know what he means by that, but I agree. Whatever.
Allie said you should hike Craven's Trail for sure. It was great. My brother and I went to Sunset Rock where Bragg and Longstreet were. Sure, that was a lovely and kind conversation they had about things. Oh, Bragg and Longstreet having a conversation. I can just imagine how that.
Wouldn't it be cool? You know, we always have like those talks about, you know, I think I mentioned this in one of the lives. One of my Ranger friends at Gettysburg, I was having lunch with. We were talking about who you'd have a beer with. You know, it's just one of those conversations, shockingly over beer at some bar one day, day drinking actually, as a matter of fact. But and I've said before, the guy I would drink with, without a doubt, is Dan Sickles. Not even a question.
Oh God,
not even a question.
He would be a fucking riot, especially if he brought his dog along. I'm trying to think of his dog's name now. Jen will know his dog's name.
Sickles' dog, yeah. Jen's our Sickles
I know
whisperer.
one was Dandy. One of his dog's names was Dandy.
Hope it was something really, really cool.
Braxton Bragg had a dog called Braxy.
I know that. You mentioned it. We mention it all the time, so you know it's true. But I mean, I think when you look at the overall, because I mean, we were talking about like there was, well, it'd be Lee. No, it wouldn't. Who the hell would have a beer with Robert E. Lee?
I would not want to have a beer with Robert E. Lee. Like, there's so many of them I would want to have a beer with and ask questions. Now he wouldn't drink with me, but Claiborne is somebody I would want to sit down and just say, like, okay, you know, you've had all this time to
Fritz, the Patriots are America's team, Fritz. They are. Sorry, they are.
Yeah, they are.
You can have South America if you want, but the Pats got North America now.
Jen, good for her. Dandy and Bobo. Where is Dom?
Dandy and Bobo.
Bobo.
Dandy and Bobo. And why wouldn't Claiborne drink with you?
Because Claiborne didn't drink.
Oh, I don't. You made it sound like it was because you. I thought it was just like a Canadian thing or something.
No. So Claiborne.
Cleveland Indians fan thing.
Yeah. So Claiborne, when he moved down to Arkansas, he got really fucking shit-faced one night, and I guess his friend like put him to bed and stuff. Well, anyway, his friend went to wake him up to make sure he was okay, and apparently Claiborne flew into a rage and nearly killed him. And when he came out of it, he just said, "I'm never drinking again. I don't like what I become when I drink," and he never touched it.
Does he sing when he drinks?
Probably.
Does he sing "Call Me Maybe" when he drinks?
He probably does, actually. That and "Oh Danny Boy." And he eats Lucky Charms.
He's Lucky Charms with Jameson poured over him.
I feel like you need to get a box of Lucky Charms and Photoshop Claiborne on it for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, I could totally do that.
Because that's also his birthday.
Is it really? St. Patty's Day is Claiborne's birthday?
It's disputed. Like, there's some places that say the 17th, there's some places that say, I think, the 18th. I think Simmons, in his biography about Claiborne, and I trust his opinion when it comes to Claiborne, is he was born on St. Patrick's Day in Cork County, Ireland. But yeah, he was one of the ones in the Civil War that didn't drink because it made him, he was an angry drunk. And he wasn't like that when he wasn't drinking. He was a pretty nice guy, I think.
Well, I think we've all been with our fun drunks, our social drunks, our angry drunks, you know.
Scott said Lincoln would be the best beer. Actually, Lincoln would be interesting to talk to as well.
The best beer? Really? Maybe. I mean,
that's interesting.
There's no wrong answer. I mean, it's obviously whoever you think the most sensitive.
The one from Gettysburg, I would have the beer with his Trimble.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I've always been interested in the other two from Pickett's Charge that never get talked about.
Pettigrew and Trimble?
Yep.
Well, Pettigrew might be fun, but he was kind of booky. Why Trimble?
Because he was held at Johnson's Island. That's where.
Oh, okay.
And just the railway connection too. The fact that, like, when they found out, like, Stanton was very insistent that they put him in prison because of all that he knew about the railways in the north.
Leonard says, "I'll have a beer with Earl Van Horn, but I would not let him near my wife." Good point.
That was such a good story about him.
Just make sure, Leonard, that if you do, that you don't sign a pass to escape for him. So
that
we'll tell that
back to
last
week's Facebook Live in the Bang Barn and Sickles and Barton Key.
I challenge anyone to find any Civil War podcast that talks about a bang barn, by the way. Yeah. Talk to Lynn Blade and ask them if they talk about bang barns. I'm like,
they do talk about, they don't call it a bang barn, but they talk about it on their episode about Sickles.
Well, that's probably true, but I think Sickles would be fun because he'd be cool people around him. You'd have Butterfield, you'd have Hooker, you'd have all these people, you know. Where's it going? Oh, Irvin Dorn. So we talked about that last week, and you mentioned that real quick. So real quick, he's you know, he's a Lothario. He's trying to hook up with everybody he can, and he ends up hooking up with this one guy's wife, and he goes into. The guy's husband shows up, and he's pissed off. So, and so he says, "Can you do me a favor? Can you sign my pass to get out of the lines? I need to, so I can leave the Confederate line." Sure, signs his pass. Then he kills Van Dorn, shoots him in the head, drops him right in the office, then uses the pass to get out and escape. That is ball. You know what?
That's ballsy.
You just have to sometimes. You just have to appreciate it. I mean, you just do. You know.
Scott said Sickles might not be a very fun drunk. I mean, he turned into a blubbering mess when he was hearing about his wife with Key. Yeah, at the trial, Sickles had a really tough time with that. In a way, I don't blame him. Like, that was probably like, you know, to go through that in the trial was just whatever. And then like he shoots Barton Key.
Barton Key.
Barton Key.
There's a lot of, you know, that's the thing we're missing nowadays is we're losing the good names. You don't see, honey, let's name him Absalom. You don't have that anymore.
States' rights.
Or states' rights gist. We talked about him, South Carolinian. Can you imagine, he's from South Carolina. His actual birth name is States' Rights. Was he ahead of his time? Did you know? Was it?
I can imagine that conversation. I mentioned this in the podcast. What do you want to call the baby, honey? How about states' rights? Okay.
Imagine the wife be like, "Fuck, you know what? Seriously, I wanted John. Okay, fine. You know, states' rights." We're naming the kids States Rights. There's a whole bunch of good names.
Oh, there
then
is.
There's the Bushrod Johnsons, the Richard Johnsons. You got to sit down and wonder what the hell is going on with those parents' heads.
Yeah.
But
actually,
then
Gabe
again,
tweeted about states' rights this morning.
He did. I saw that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did that. But I don't know where the hell I'm going with this actually. But
cool Civil War names to give your
yeah,
Bushrod.
But Bushrod. You know, it's funny because you know when I go into Starbucks, I give a different Civil War name every single time.
You got to do Bushrod.
I probably will. I usually do Cadmus or I do Moxley. I've done Absalom. And so this and there go, you know, drink for Absalom, and I go up there and I just get a little laugh. No one else gets it except me.
I'm gonna start doing Civil War names too, even male ones when I go in.
You know,
I think I'm gonna do Clara, Belle.
I mean, those are good, very good names. First of all, but you need something a little more, you know, a little more nerdy.
A little more nerdy.
Yeah.
I'll just use a male name then.
Yeah, why not? They're not gonna know. Go with Absalom. They're not gonna fucking know.
Absalom.
Well, it was funny because last summer, I went on a rant where I you know, Starbucks has a really good pumpkin, and I'm addicted to that. I'm such a basic bitch when it comes to pumpkin. I'll be the first to admit that. So last fall,
so am I.
Last fall, I went in there and I was getting Cadmus. So finally, I went in there. I changed it. And I did it for Moxley, and I go to the register and I go, "Your name?" And Moxley. She goes, "I thought your name was Cadmus." It was pretty funny. So,
Moxley's my middle name.
I'm like, "Oh, it's for somebody else." Sorry.
So a few comments here. Leonard says, I have states' rights gist biography in my to-read pile. I just want to read it for his name. Scott said his third time's great-grandson was Lost Cause gist.
I think like when he was playing for the Rough and Ready football team, he had states' rights and his number on the side of his Letterman jacket. Probably. States' rights 69, something like that.
States' rights 69. He was dating the Rough and Ready cheerleaders.
I'm sure. I hope so.
Yeah. Gabe said states' rights just killed at Franklin. Oh, I didn't know that.
He was. I knew that.
His name was. Look at you go, fucker.
Anything you need to know, Mary, just come to me. Anything you need to know, just anything. Anything Western theory you question about Franklin, Chickamauga, just come to me.
Fucker. Snodgrass. Everyone take a drink. Gabe says his name was based on Southern states' rights doctrine of nullification politics of his father, Nathaniel Gist. Nathaniel Gist was a disciple of John C. Calhoun and chose his son's name to reflect his own political sentiments. That's very interesting. Wouldn't that have sucked if he'd fought for the North for his parents? Could you imagine?
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
I'm going to fight for the fucking North. Fuck you. Fight.
Oh God, but yeah, if you lived in the North, it'd be kind of cool. States' rights. If you fought for the Union, like Thomas did, or you know.
Yeah, and Thomas's sisters turned his picture to the wall, and then people would come over and be like, "Who's that?" And they're like, "That's our brother. He fought for the fucking North because he's a fucker."
You also had John Wilkes Booth we talked about. Yeah. You know, there was some debate. Speaking of him, there was some debate today. Our friend Dave Taylor, our friend Dave, a lot of you guys may know him. He found a picture from Charlestown, 1859, of John Brown's execution. And John Brown's got that new TV show with Ethan Hawke that's been going on that I'm going to wait to watch. I'll watch that when the time is right. And basically, he found a picture of the Richmond Greys, which was John Wilkes Booth's regiment when he was in the Army for 2 weeks. And there's a guy in the picture who could possibly be him. And so, anybody who saw my Facebook page, I put that on there today, or we tweeted it today. Take a peek at it and see what you think.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's the more I look at it, the more I'm like, okay, this is because you can't quite see the eyes, and Booth had very, like what I would say would be very, like you look at any picture of him, you could tell by his eyes. But people were saying like the mouth, the chin, the facial structure looks like.
See, the nose is what gets me.
Yeah.
He had a big, long, straight nose.
Yeah.
And that's pretty consistent. Oh, I forgot to tell you this, that Lisa Samia, the author, she'd emailed me about that this morning. I forgot to tell you that. And she thought it was someone else in the picture. And then I emailed Dave, and Dave says, no, she's fucking wrong. So I'll fall back on Dave on that one, because I think he's more of I consider him like the expert in the booth,
Dave Taylor, he's LIN Conspirators. on Twitter.
Mm.
He's an excellent follower. He knows his stuff about the assassination, about John Wilkes Booth, and also about Abraham Lincoln. He's been a guest on our sibling podcast, The Rail Splitter, 3 times, and he's awesome, fun guest.
He's a fellow Surratt Society member like us.
Yes.
He runs the Booth Escape Tour out of Charles County. So if you're in the area, but definitely follow him because he's
he's
anything Booth related, and so he dresses up as John Wilkes Booth. He does. His wife Kate is a Mary Surratt reenactor.
Yep.
Kate and that was before they even met. So what are the odds of that? You know?
Yeah.
Hey, good for them. You know.
That's awesome.
Love is in the air. but I think overall, but check out the post. It's on Twitter. It's been probably I retweeted it, Mary retweeted it.
Yeah.
You know, if you follow Dave, you'll see it. And it's really interesting because I've been staring at this picture for like 12 straight hours.
I have too. I keep going back and I think before I fell asleep last night, I was looking at the picture and I'm like, this could very well be him. It's one of those almost too good to be true kind of thing, but I don't know, like it could be.
The problem with that picture is, well, this should be the problem, is that there's never going to be resolution to it because I don't think facial recognition would work.
I don't think so either.
My friend Dan, who a friend of mine here in the Cape, he says he knows somebody who can do facial recognition. So I sent him the full picture, but you're never going to know. You're never going to know. But it's pretty cool though. It's pretty. It's really interesting. And can you imagine if an undiscovered picture of John Wilkes Booth came out? What that would do? Well, that I don't mean that. I mean this one. If this was proven to be him, what that would do as far as history goes.
I know I love when stuff like that happens, and I hope maybe it can one day be determined that it is him, because who knows how technology will advance with being able to enhance photos. There's a few more comments on here. Jen, that's hilarious. I always order through the Starbucks app, and it already knows my name. Well, you got to re-register again, then, Jen.
Like Cheers. Go. Sometimes you gotta go.
Allie said, Civil War names are the best. I always say Pierre Gustave Touton Beauregard out loud when I see it in a book. Where did the fun names go? I do the same thing.
Pierre Gustave. No, I'm thinking
Beauregard.
Right, and then there's of course Brigitte Denise de Carandon de Trobriand, which is another great name.
Jen, man, the rough and ready cheerleaders get around. They do.
They certainly do. They certainly do. You know, talk about a homecoming.
That was probably a good night for States Rats.
Get the liquor ready. Bushrod's coming back. We got a big game against Hard Times Tennessee this weekend. Bushrod's coming back for this one.
Jen, she's drinking Gatorade. Scott said Jefferson C. Davis, Brigadier for the Union. Yeah, we've talked about him a few times, Scott. That just what an unfortunate name to have.
Well, I mean, Jefferson C. Davis, he was in the 21st Corps under McCook, and Alex McCook, and can you imagine the shit he must have caught? Just his butt. I mean, granted, he was a division commander, so no one was going to give him shit. But can you imagine his peers, Richard Johnson, Phil Sheridan, Nagley, and those guys? The shit they must have given him being named Jefferson Davis. And it's funny he goes Jefferson C. Davis,
yeah,
like that actor Michael C. What's Jordan, the guy who was in that whatever.
Yep. Scott said, didn't Davis shoot someone over a woman in a hotel? Yeah, actually he did kill somebody. That actually, the anniversary, that was not too long ago. The other thing too that happened with Jefferson C. Davis is Ebenezer Creek on Sherman's March to the Sea, where he pulled up the pontoons and a whole bunch of
I forgot who commanded the right wing of the March to the Sea. It was Wheaton, right?
Oliver Otis Howard.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't Howard. It wasn't Wheaton. I confused
that's another thing. So here, I'm going to end the Wheaton Howard thing here right now.
Oh, good. Finally.
Ben,
okay.
Who's got a statue at Gettysburg? Yeah. Boom, right there.
Right.
Yep. With the high horse.
He was.
the
horse's name was Tony Montana.
Yeah,
anybody who's been to Gettysburg, go to the East Cemetery Hill, look at the Howard statue, and tell me that horse is not high. Tell me. Just go ahead. You're going to be wrong. Just
Barlow was his drug dealer.
He was carried that boombox around.
Barlow.
And Hancock can play the drums pretty well.
That picture that you did of
we have to retweet that picture again. Actually, we got to retweet that.
Oh, Gabe said Michael B. Jordan, the actor from Black
Yes,
Panther. Is that
that's it. Michael B. Jordan. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I get it now, Michael Jordan. Okay, yeah.
Hey, look at that.
I'm late to the game.
Yeah, the electricity finally makes it to Canada.
I know. I just pulled a Lou Wallace right there. Hey, I'm here.
I wonder if, like, wouldn't that be the worst thing if you're named after somebody famous and you became famous, you had to kind of put a middle initial in,
or like Michael Bolton from The Office or Office Space.
You know what the worst one was the play-by-play guy of the Baltimore Ravens. You know what his name was or is? Well,
what?
Jerry Sandusky. Seriously, can you imagine like checking into a hotel with that name with everything going on? And, I would be like, you got to be shitting me. Seriously?
I'd be changing my name.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Leonard said Ed Bears famously collapsed from heat stroke and said God could take him at any time, but don't let him die by O.O. Howard. What? Why am I that loves O.O.?
You know what? We've talked about this many, many times, offline and offline.
People he has to be dragged to Hancock. You got to study Oliver Otis Howard because he gets a lot of shit for Chancellorsville, and you know what? He kind of deserves it a little bit, but it wasn't totally his fault. Yeah,
I mean,
they
Sickles
all make mistakes at one point.
I know, exactly. Like, what if
stuck in a fucking tree and nobody ever talked about fucking Kernstown?
What if Stonewall Jackson, hell will be thy name if you're from the South,
yeah,
was blamed or was his career was defined by the Battle of Kernstown?
Yeah,
right?
What if we just looked at them from this measuring scale that you and I have made up because of how people reacted to Howard being my favorite general? You'd swear I said I admired Adolf Hitler or something, the amount of shit I took for that. Like, it was crazy. And it's like, okay, so if you're going to look at Howard for just Chancellorsville, let's look at Stonewall Jackson for just Kernstown.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of that. It's, I think a lot of people read on the periphery, on the high level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like when we said that Antietam was a bigger battle than Gettysburg was. That got them going too. Yeah. And it's just different. It doesn't mean it is no right or wrong answer. You can like who the fuck you want. But I think it's important to, we talk about the whole deep dive thing, to be able to look into these people and see what the good and the bad and the ugly in all of them. Because you can make that case for Meade. You can make that case for, shall I say, Lincoln? Yep. Any of them. Absolutely. I mean, you could. I mean, so you just basically have to look at the whole picture. I like Howard. I think he did a lot of good work. I think the Freedmen's Bureau, obviously, I know was after the war, but I think he was very instrumental at Gettysburg of maintaining Cemetery Hill.
Hey, he called that fine piece of ass too. Got up in that roof and he's like, "This is definitely a fine piece of ass."
That's probably what it was,
But then everybody gets all over him for saying like he didn't do anything on the first day. Well, what is he supposed to do? Howard can't ride around everywhere. He's got to stay in one spot so the troops know where he is.
Well, the problem was he didn't put the good batteries in his walkie-talkie, so he didn't know what was going on.
Well, he had to stay and protect the Legos too.
That's true. And anybody who's been at Gettysburg knows the internet sucks there. So you can imagine the text messages probably all crash when you're trying to send a Schitt's Creek GIF and it won't fucking go.
My phone does not like GIFs right now. At all.
I had a tough time with it yesterday. There was that fiasco when we were about the Howard versus Wheaton thing yesterday. I couldn't get the thing to go through. Finally went through later, but I think you find your generals who you like, and you look at the good and the bad and the ugly with them, and you just make the whole case.
Yep. And I love Howard.
But in all seriousness, we joke about this, but in all seriousness, look at someone like Oliver Otis Howard and look at the big picture, and you see the positives he did, because you might just maybe. You might say, shit, maybe there's more to these people than you think.
It's the same with Hooker. Like, I used to not like Hooker. And then when we did an episode about him on Railsplitter podcast and I started to look at him more, I was like, whoa, this guy is really, he did a lot of good things. Like, yeah, he does fuck up at Chancellorsville, but Jesus, who wouldn't if they get hit with a fucking piece of concrete and get a concussion? And then he's bumbling around for the next 3 months. He finally comes to at Lookout Mountain, and then Grant won't give him credit for it, so he's getting a fucking raw deal. And I'm convinced that Hooker, the reason, so he had a series of strokes after the Civil War. I'm guessing it was that concussion that he had, that he was pretty fucked up from that.
Well, they didn't really know concussions back then. I mean, if you got wobbling around, they go, "Oh, look, he's drunk again."
Yeah.
But
no,
and you wonder, like, forget the whole Grant thing, because that's a different story. But you look at guys like Alfred Iverson at Gettysburg. Was he really drunk? Was he concussed? I mean, he kind of came in late in that first day's battle in Oak Ridge. Was he a situation where he maybe got his head knocked around a little bit, and that's why they thought he was drunk?
Yep.
Maybe Ledley at Crater. Maybe he had some. I mean, you never know. Maybe they were fucking drinking.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows?
But who knows? But it's, as you said, Darren, is a very good point. Like, when you start to look at the bigger picture, do the deep dives, like, I've come around to really, I actually can say I respect Dan Sickles. I think he's a really interesting character. And I don't completely fault him for what he did on day 2 of Gettysburg.
If you want a really, and I know you've read this book, Mare, if you want a really, really good book on Dan Sickles, you got to read Jim Hessler's book.
Actually, I haven't read it yet.
You haven't read Sickles at Gettysburg, really?
No, I tried. Remember, I tried to order it a few months ago, and for some reason I couldn't. I know I think Jen has read it. Jen is our Sickles. Jen's our Sickles girl.
But you can borrow that book then, because that's a really, really good book. And it really talks about his off the field activities really, really well.
Yeah, off the field activities are as exciting as on the field.
Especially with him. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Allie said, I need some book enabling with O.O. Howard. What books should people check out? He does have fabulous hair, as you guys mentioned. Oh yeah, he's got amazing hair. So Allie, there's not really much written about Howard, unfortunately. He does have an autobiography that he wrote after the Civil War, and I'm reading that right now. I'd highly recommend it. It's really, really good. There's a book about his experiences in the West after the Civil War, and the name is escaping me right now. So let me just look it up on my iPad here. But yeah, definitely check out his autobiography, because it's really good.
But going back to Sickles real quick while you're doing that, he's an interesting dude. I mean, he's a 21st century guy living in the 19th century. Yep. This is a guy who, he was living with a couple who had a baby. There's stories about how he used to fool around with the guy's wife. He ultimately ended up marrying that baby when she got older.
The baby, she ends up having the bang barn.
The baby ends up in the bang barn with Barton Key with a handkerchief. So he kills Barton Key. He ends up hooking up with the Queen of Spain. Then he has that weird Mrs. Heimerdinger lady who's pushing him around in the wheelchair, and there's all those rumors with her. And it's just an interesting. But you know what though? This is where the Sickles people, and this is where Hester and Lingblay actually have it right.
Yeah,
is he's the one. If you're at the Gettysburg National Military Park and you're there, you got to thank Sickles for it, because if it wasn't for him in Congress in New York, he would have that park would have been built over. He literally stopped a railroad from being built right through Devil's Den. Literally, and it could have gone either way. So think about that when you think about these guys, because it's plus he's a fun guy, and so that's why he's a guy I want to drink with, because he'd be fun.
They are a lot of fun, and I mean, reading Howard's autobiography, like, I found out he was a shit disturber as a child. He was, I think, the oldest in his family. And he used to get in like fist fights and stuff on the playground.
Well, then, after the war, he's buddies with James Longstreet. We were talking about this. I don't know what the hell we were talking about, probably Twitter, one of those things. But he basically, he ends up in New Orleans. I think it's New Orleans. I always fuck that up. I think it's New Orleans. But he ends up getting drunk with James Longstreet. And they're at a bar, and he ends up going, I'm going to go back to my hotel. Longstreet says, you're too drunk. I got to walk you back. They walk back to the hotel. And then Longstreet goes, well, I'll see you later. And Sickles goes, well, James, you're too drunk. I got to walk you back to your hotel. They go back again. And along the way, he says, you never apologized for taking my leg at Gettysburg. And he goes, something? He goes, you're lucky I didn't take both your legs.
His Lego.
And it's Lego. His armor is Lego. But you can imagine the conversations of these guys, these real-time, real-life people conversations about this stuff, and how funny it must have been. And Sickles lived until like what, right around 1905 or 1910. Jen will probably know when he died. I have no idea when he died.
She said she's driving right now, so she's still listening. So she might comment.
She probably hope she's not texting while driving then.
No, she won't do that. Just to answer Allie's question, the book I mentioned about Howard's experience after the Civil War out in the West is called Thunder in the Mountains, and I actually have it as an audiobook, so I'm going to listen to it soon. So hopefully I can tell you what it's like. But there's that, and then his autobiography. Other than that, there's not much about O.O., and I really believe that needs to change. Like, he's one of these generals that needs a reevaluation, and he needs another biography. And that was another good question posed on Twitter the other day, is who would you pick to have a biography about? And to me, like, there's enough about Sherman, there's enough about Grant. Like, let's start looking at some of these other guys that don't have as much of a voice. Like
somebody mentioned Beauregard today. That was a good
Beauregard.
one.
Yeah.
You know, that was a real good one.
Yeah, Beauregard needs one. Thomas. I think even Bragg's got a biography, but it would be interesting to have another look at him. Hood, you know, on both sides, there needs to be a little bit more said about them.
I mean, Colville needs a book from the 1st Minnesota, I think. There's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
David Ireland, 137th New York, needs a book. I mean, maybe they exist. I know there's a couple of Rufus Dawes books. See, I like that second level guy. Enough has been written about fucking Lee and Longstreet and Grant.
Yeah, there's enough about that.
You know, but there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of people like that who I think don't have a voice, because I think for all the books on certain battles, Antietam, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, any of them, where a lot of the books fall short is on the individual second level mid-management type people. You know, Charles Tilden from the 16th Maine is a really good one. You know, you want to talk, you know, we were talking about it Chickamauga about those regiments who got surrounds but think about Oak Hill, July 1st, 1863. You know, you're in John Cleveland Robinson's division of the 1st Corps, and you're the 16th Maine, and you got Confederates coming on you from the fields where Gettysburg College is now, from Oak Hill, right across the Iverson-Pittsfield, and you're told to fight to the last guy. You need to basically allow the rest of the 11th Corps to retreat, so you have to be the sacrificial lamb regiment. And, you know, and so Robinson tells Tilden that, and he tells his guys, well, boys, you know what that means, you know? So they literally take the battle flag and they take the American flag and rip it up and stick it in their pocket so the Confederates can't catch the flag. So Tilden, he gets captured, and one of the guys, probably in O'Neill's division, O'Neill's brigade, and he basically says, you know, hand me your sword. So Tilden pulls his sword out, sticks it in the ground, snaps it in half, and says, fuck yourself. No, he probably doesn't say that.
He said, you need to go in the corner and go yourself.
Fuck yourself. He breaks the sword off at the hilt so he can't get his sword captured. He gets captured. He gets shipped to Richmond, to Libby Prison. I don't know why I'm pointing, because I don't know what the fuck that's. I don't know that's Richmond.
Is that the
wherever the hell Richmond is, that's where he goes. He gets sent to Libby Prison, you know, and he ends up there. He escapes, you know, Shawshank Redemption style through the Rose Tunnel. He escapes, makes it back to the Union Army, but they give him a horse, and they give him a new horse because his horse got killed at Gettysburg. He ends up fighting in a later battle, and guess what happens? He gets caught again. So you know what happens again? He escapes again.
Wow.
And he gets back. But these are the stories like Charles Tilden of the 16th Maine that never get told. But he's a good one. I love the whole snap of the sword part of it.
Oh yeah, you know, some of these guys did some really hilarious things. A couple of others. Scott said, to be fair, Hooker lost Chancellorsville before being concussed. I mean, he had Lee Pants and just stopped. Yeah. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if he hadn't got concussed, like how that might.
You know what happens? He would have lost his army, because the fact that he escaped, Lee was pissed off, even though they won that battle.
Yeah.
He was going to attack that next day, and the army was gone and got over the river, and he was gone. He wanted to destroy them, and Lee was like, shit, we won this battle, but we let them escape. It was very similar to Antietam in reverse. So if he doesn't get concussed and decides to keep fighting, he probably loses, and that could be a history change right there.
Yep, exactly.
Possible.
Ben, not shocking, Frank Wheaton needs a book. You need to write it, Ben.
Well, I think Ben needs to write a book then.
Yep.
Oh, well, we'll promote it. Write a book, Ben.
Yep, I probably should write a book about Howard. You and I could probably write a book about Howard.
We've talked about that. You know, I can do the illustrations.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
you can write some big glowing preface about how I dedicate this book to my podcast partner.
Fucker.
Motivates me every single day to be my best on the podcast.
The dedication will say, like, dedicate it to fucker.
That's how I'll sign it. I'll just sign fucker.
Fucker.
But there are a lot of guys though. We would be a good book. I'm surprised there isn't one about Wheaton.
Yeah, any of them, like, and I think too, the other ones that deserve books are Minty and Wilder, because they're so interesting. Especially like Minty lived in Canada he actually lived in a town about an hour from me before the Civil War. he was a railroad guy up here in Canada. And one of the railways that he oversaw, I think it was one of the lines that went right through my hometown of Goderich. Like I'm wondering, was he ever here? You know, like Sherman visited my hometown in 1866, which is not mentioned in any Sherman biography that I found so far, but it is written about in the local newspaper, and it was written about in the Toronto newspaper too.
That's pretty cool. Ben says he's going to the Rhode Island State Archives to do more research. You should do a book.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to write a book. You know, someday I'll write a book.
Gabe said Sickles was the sheriff of New York County in 1890.
Sickles did a lot. I mean, he was a guy who stuck around for a while. That'd be pretty cool. Like those big plastic ones you get, like the kids get at those little places.
That's what he had.
Probably had some big plastic gun with a little orange tip on the end.
He probably had a little sheriff badge for Bobo, for his dog.
I don't think his dog was around in 1890. He might have had a new dog.
Bobo might have been. Dandy was his first dog, and then Bobo.
Anyways, but you know, hey, you never know. Maybe he's still alive today.
Bobo?
Maybe he is.
Braxy's still alive. I know the dog next door to me is Braxton Bark.
Yeah, I hear him a lot. He's always going to be, you know.
Braxton
but I
Bark
think
was outside barking the other night for 2 fucking hours.
Yay. Fucker, shut up, fucker.
And then I open the door and I'm like, you know what? Poke's not out to get you. Just like, shut the door.
Your neighbors must think you're insane. I mean, that story of throwing the rocks at the kids in your front yard for no reason.
I was not throwing rocks at them. They were being loud and obnoxious while I was trying to sit outside and read.
So you're saying they deserved it?
Well, they did. I'm trying to read.
Get off my lawn.
Disrupting Mary time. I'm 38. I can be that old lady.
Hey, you're getting there. Hey, you never know.
Never
too early to get those organ donor cards updated, Mary. You never know.
You're
getting older.
11 years older than me.
But I'm just gonna stop aging, so you have to catch up with me.
So Ben said I'm playing fetch with Grant right now. Speaking of dogs, yeah, Grant is Ben's dog. I've seen some pictures of him on Facebook. He's pretty cute. Amelia said there's an older biography of Beauregard by or Beauregard as we call him here at the podcast.
He's Beauregard here.
Yeah, T. Harry Williams, Beauregard, Napoleon and Gray. It's fair adjacent. Pierre Gustave Touton Beauregard shows McClellan around New Orleans, while the latter's on an 1858 leave. They might have been less fun than Longstreet and Sickles, but you never know. That's interesting, actually. Thanks, Amelia, for that. Yeah, I think I would like to read a biography about Beauregard. I think he's probably a pretty interesting guy. He had to dye his hair because, like me, he went gray early. This is fake color.
Oh, really? What's that like? You know?
Fucker.
The hell, but Beauregard was the firing at Sumter. He was the one with the cannons. You know, he does maybe the hardest thing you can do on the battlefield, which is retreat in the face of the enemy. At Corinth, that he does it and he gets blamed for it. They don't like that too much.
And then with Shiloh too, like his aide de camp, like he was going to attack the second day at Shiloh, and his aide de camp actually said, "Are we not like a lump of sugar that's just dampened with water?" And we could melt at any moment. And Beauregard's like, yeah, we need to go.
Well, he did send that letter back saying, "We'll finish his eyes up tomorrow. Done deal." Kind of like Meade at the escape of Lee, actually, very similar.
Yeah, in a way, I do feel bad for Beauregard because he, like, Jefferson Davis didn't like him, and Jefferson Davis was typical Michael Corleone. He made things personal. You know, he liked Braxton Bragg, which I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, but he didn't like Beauregard. So because of that, like if Davis didn't like you and that fucking dog over there, fucking die. I love dogs, by the way. I love all animals, but
Mary's Fincher easily shaken.
Yappy rat dog.
This is a flashback to an hour ago when we were trying to get online Zoom and you threatened to burn the entire province down.
Actually, no, I feel sorry for the dog because the owners leave it outside and it barks like that and it wants to be let in, and I feel bad for it.
Oh, well, you should take care of that dog then.
No, I should just go over and steal it and make it my own.
Like you did with that cat yesterday.
That cat willingly comes in my house. My neighbor's cat.
What does he have? He has a key? How does he willingly come in your house?
He actually tries to open the door. He knocks on the door.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it back then.
Yeah. No, he knocks.
Isn't he blind? Isn't that cat blind?
He's deaf. He's deaf.
Oh, he's deaf. Okay.
Yeah, he went deaf about a year ago. Anyway, so
the stories you
Davis,
get. The stories you get.
Yep. Davis, if he didn't like you, then odds are you would be shoved off to some shitty command somewhere. And if he liked you, like he liked Braxton Bragg, you got to stay in command even though you were fucking up the whole time.
The Braxton Bragg thing, just like the John Bell Hood thing, are the decisions they basically made that Davis made. I don't quite understand. And it's interesting, they were both Western guys. So you wonder how much info he was actually getting when he was making these decisions. Like, he seemed to have his finger on the pulse of the East pretty well. I mean, a couple things like that, but I think it's interesting just to see some of the stories. I don't know. I mean, it seemed like Lincoln was getting rid of his guys, faster than you empty beer cans, Mary. He just, every 5 minutes,
Well, when you're hanging out, when one is hanging out with you, drinking is definitely required.
Wow, look at you casting such dispersions, attacking my valor, But seriously, but Lincoln had a lot less. I think there was a lot more political pressure on Lincoln too. Jefferson Davis wasn't facing an election. He wasn't facing a Congress. I mean, his Congress was basically a bunch of guys sitting in a room.
Yeah,
may or may not be falling asleep at the same time. Yeah. I'm not going to say they're in the same room again for fear of scorn.
They weren't in the same room though. That's the thing.
I can only go with the information I'm given, man.
But I told you from 2 different sources that they weren't in the same fucking room. And what we're talking about, for people that don't know, is that when we were recording part 1 of Chickamauga, Darren was like, yeah, Braxton Bragg's War Council, they were all in the same room and D.H. Hill fell asleep. And like, gently, I wasn't a bitch about it. Okay, maybe afterwards I was.
That's like Edward Scissorhands doing a hernia test gently, was what that was. That was not gentle.
I just said they weren't in the same room. DHL was like often like fucking bumbling around Chickamauga. He decides to take a nap at 3:30, never gets his orders. Braxton Bragg does meet with Longstreet and Polk, but it's at different times. And who knows?
It certainly was.
And who knows if he gave them the same orders, because it's Bragg. And that's like, it's basically how not to run a war council. And that's one of the things, like Bragg decides, like, he's like, after the second day of Chickamauga, he's like, okay, reorganizing my army, making it into wings. We'll see if this works for us. It's like,
well, I don't think that rearranging the army did anything. I think that was a good idea, considering who he put in charge. You have Polk and Longstreet. But I think the problem was he didn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah, I think Bragg's thing was like, he had it in his head, but he didn't relay all of that to Longstreet and Polk. And then he says to Polk, okay, can you make sure Hill gets this order? Yep. And then he finds Polk sitting in a rocking chair at like 8:30 in the morning. And he's like, why are you not attacking? And Polk's just like,
we had to have breakfast first.
And then they went and found Hill and Breckinridge and Claiborne eating breakfast, and they were eating Lucky Charms.
Breckinridge, to be totally honest, he's kind of James Breckinridge. I kind of feel bad for him a little bit, because he's a guy I think who kind of did very well. John Breckinridge, but I think he was a guy who, he was the first attack. He was the first guy, and he did pretty well. Yeah. But he had no real orders, and he kind of got left on the wing. And he's the hardest position is when you're the first guy attacking and you're attacking a flank, because that's a tough. Yeah, I mean, usually there's cavalry at the flanks, and you got to deal with them too. But he was a guy who didn't get the orders. I mean, D.H. Hill had got, do you want to say demoted? I don't know if he was or he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, but D.H. Hill was a bastard. Like, he had that coming. Like, Lee sends him to the West because he's tired of fucking dealing with his ass. And like, Hill is he's talented, but he's a dick. Like, that's
he caught on Reynolds that day, right?
Yeah. Reynolds fell asleep. So John Reynolds falls asleep behind enemy lines, doesn't realize where he is. And Reynolds has been awake at this point for however many fucking days, and he's finally like, God, I'm exhausted. DHL wakes him up and says, hey fucker.
That's probably exactly what he said.
You're going to prison. And Reynolds is like, fuck this. But Reynolds ends up getting exchanged.
Yeah. No, he wasn't the John Reynolds who came along later. He probably gave him that line you always say about go in the corner. That's probably what he told him too.
You know what you need to do, Hill? You need to go in the corner and go fuck yourself. Fucker.
That's what she told me when I got the thing wrong with the D.H. Hill thing. Just in case you're curious, that's exactly what you told me. Yep, you did.
Really?
When we were talking about it later on, it's exactly what you said. Darren, why don't you go in the corner and go F yourself? Nice. It's okay. The tick has gone away. You know.
I'm glad. Allie said Jeff Davis liking Pemberton and Bragg, not the people I would personally like get behind. No, like Pemberton turned out to be, that was a shit show. But again,
there's two Pembertons, right?
Is there?
There's the one who invented Coke, and then there's the one who was in Vicksburg. There's two James Pembertons, in case you're curious.
Interesting.
Just in case you're curious, when you drink a Coca-Cola, you can think,
which I don't.
Confederate James Pemberton. He invented it.
Mm-hmm. Scott said, Polk then calmly scratched his nose with his middle finger while looking at Bragg.
I bet that happened a lot. You know, a lot of those.
Sitting in the rocking chair, and Bragg's like, "Why are you attacking?" I don't fucking know.
I'll say this to my dying day. For anybody who's been to Gettysburg, you've seen the 143rd Pennsylvania Monuments with Ben Crippen. Ben Crippen is a flag bearer who was fighting, who basically fought right there at the where Herbst was with McPherson Barn is. And there's a statue of him, and there's a story of him. It's debated whether or not it's Ben Crippen or it's a guy named Ben Pfeiffer or something like that, but most people think it's Ben Crippen. So he is standing there, and he's retreating, and he's turning at the Confederates, and he's giving them the burb while he's retreating. then he takes 10 more steps, turns around again, gives them the burb again. Right? He eventually, the inevitable happens, and he gets shot, gets killed. But there's a statue, there's a monument of him with the flag raising his fist. And they don't put the finger on it, but they have a fist. But I tell you, and I don't know this for a fact, but I guarantee you, he was giving him the finger. I just know. Some things you just know. But if you see the Ben Crippen statue raising his fist, we call it the middle finger, the burb statue.
Leonard comes through. John Sith Pemberton is the Coke guy. John Clifford Pemberton is the Vicksburg guy. Oh, we have Ian watching. I hope I'm getting his name right. Watching from the UK. Hey. And then Leonard said, but ironically, Vicksburg was the first place Coke was bottled.
It all goes back to Vicksburg, doesn't it?
Wow.
Like I said, James Pemberton. It's John. I don't know why I'm doing the James John thing weird today. I don't know why I'm mixing the two up. But it's John Pemberton. It's John. John and James are the same. It's two different names.
Too. Yeah. It's
what?
James Jim.
Okay. Anyway.
I have an uncle whose name is James, and everybody calls him Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, but it's not James and John.
I know. I'm sorry.
I just don't want to happen again, right?
Just remember, I feel like I have an ice pick being driven through my eye right now because of fucking migraine. Fucker.
Oh, yeah. That's what it is, migraine. Okay.
That.
Blame me all you want. I'm going to run from that. I'm going to give you the pipe from the Crippen middle fingers. I run away on that one. But no, but it's definitely it's pretty neat. I'll read some of these comments here. Hey, Ian from England signing on. Our boy Ian. Yes. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's from the UK. I mentioned that like 5 seconds ago, by the way.
Okay, well, I mentioned it again because he's so cool. We mentioned him twice. Okay. But I think I forget where I was going with this, but I think going back to Chickamauga again, I think it's neat for those who don't study that battle. It's a really interesting study because it's and like I said before, as an Eastern guy like me, it reminds me of just a bigger version of the wheat field at Gettysburg. That's what it reminds me of, where the Union guys, you got right off the bat. You've got 3rd Corps and the 5th Corps, then you got the 2nd Corps, then you got the 5th Corps again. It's like one after the other rolling in. And 26 acres of wheat, and I think you had 21 total brigades fighting in that. And so it just seems like a knockdown drag out, like it's pushed back and forth and back and forth, and there's no real command and control. No one knows who's in charge. To your point, Mary, it's truly a soldier's battle. But that's what it reminds me of, is a full battle of the wheat field. And everybody knows the wheat field, but it's just, that's what it reminds me of. When I was kind of going through all this the other day with you, that's the stuff that it certainly reminded me of.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. And I love the bar brawl reference, because I think that helps, because someone like me, like I have such a tough time when I'm reading books about this battle or any battle. I have to read the stuff over and over again. I actually have to draw out where the troops were to make myself understand, or I have to visit the battlefield with somebody that can interpret it for me and tell me like I'm either, 5 years old or years old today, basically, how things are working. And I'm finally starting to wrap my mind around Chickamauga. It and Gettysburg are my two favorite battles to study. But it's like a bunch of mini battles happening. It's got the barroom brawl aspect. All 3 days are like a fucking barroom brawl. Like it's just a 3-day bar fight. Well, the other thing too is you see like a lot of instances of stuff being done there that hadn't been done before or were rare in the Civil War. So you have Patrick Cleburne attacking at night, which he was probably, when he got that order, he was like, dude, it's 4:30 and it's September. The sun's going to start setting soon, but whatever, you know what? I will go and do what you want. He captured, I think, 5 cannons doing that. But you also have the first instances of trench warfare. And the other thing too, when you go to that battlefield, it is eye-opening. If you've only ever been to Eastern battlefields and you go to Chickamauga, it's like, holy fuck, they were fighting in a forest. And you understand why there would have been a fog created from all the gun smoke. You understand why, if you're Crittenden and you're commanding an entire corps, why you can't see where your divisions are.
Well, if you've been to Antietam or Gettysburg, especially Antietam, you see these big, vast, wide open fields, and you assume that's how they were. But when you look at the other Eastern ones, places like
Wilderness,
for example, exactly, Spotsylvania, which is the same damn thing. But you're fighting basically. You can't fight linear formation, shoulder to shoulder, because you're breaking up. And the night fighting is a good point though, because it's similar to Cleburne. You have Hayes and Avery and second day of Gettysburg and East Cemetery Hill, the Louisiana Tigers, and the North Carolina guys. And you really once you lose light, you really lose a whole bunch, and you're fighting by muzzles. And the other thing that people don't realize too is what you just said about the fog is the smoke. Yeah. This is before the invention of smokeless, gunpowder. There was a study done that I read somewhere at Pickett's Charge in Gettysburg that like 95% of the battlefields was covered by smoke during Pickett's Charge, and you could only see what you could probably 10 feet in front of you, and what you could see even at that point was all in silhouette.
And they were stepping on Legos too.
And they were stepping on Legos, which is, so you think about, that's why they fought for the shoes there, Anybody who stepped on a Lego knows the pain of that.
Legos because the Confederate kids didn't want Legos for Christmas.
Dan Sickles died in 1914, May 3rd.
Wow.
It's good culture. I knew it was in the early 1900s. It was so that was the same year that Joshua Chamberlain died. Then.
And Ian asks, have you seen Dave Powell's maps of Chickamauga? It's a great source for understanding the ebb and flow of the battle. I've been meaning to buy that book. It's been recommended to me by a few people, and I think I'm actually going to order it. So, yep.
You need more books
from the UK there. But yeah, the Dave Powell is, if anybody is looking for like a good source on Chickamauga, Dave Powell is the guy. And we actually got to talk to him a little bit in a lecture we attended about Eric Wittenberg gave a lecture. Darren and I are both part of the Chattanooga Chickamauga Roundtable, and we've attended a couple lectures. It's a really fun roundtable to be a part of. And we got to talk a little bit to Eric Wittenberg, which was cool, as well as Dave Powell, who to me,
watching Mary talk to Dave Powell was like watching me talk to Tom Brady. Oh my God. Do you know you look like Dave Powell? Oh my God. Are you Dave Powell? Do you remember when you were in the Beatles?
Fucker.
You're a little starstruck. He's like, he was cool.
Yeah,
no, that was fun.
Before that too. Like,
I know. We got to talk to Eric. He's without a doubt the cavalry expert on the planet when it comes to Civil War cavalry.
His book about the first day of Chickamauga, holding the line on the River of Death, about Minty and Wilder and their stand, which this is debated. I've always believed that Chickamauga is a 3-day battle. It's like Gettysburg, it's 3 days, but it's still debated. Some people say it was just 2 days because they're like, the first day was cavalry. Well, there was mounted infantry fighting there too, like Wilder.
I never understood why, because it was mounted infantry or cavalry, why wouldn't make it a battle?
I don't know. I don't know.
But if you know what though, here's the thing though. If you're gonna say Chickamauga was 3 days, you kind of have to say Antietam was 2 days. You can't. You have to have it both ways.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I think that's the one thing that's good about studying the Civil War is when you look at these a bit deeper and you see, okay, there's this that happened. General Meade is fighting. On what would it be, September 16th, right? that
What?
he has that
The day before Antietam?
Antietam, September 16th. Am I getting that?
17th.
No,
Antietam was about September 7th. The day before you're talking about.
16th.
See, here's the problem. I'm not listening.
No shit. No shit.
I'm not. I was, but I couldn't. I lost you there for a second.
You probably still won't be listening 20 years from now, so.
Won't be able to hear. I'll be deaf to 20 years. Hey, what?
Yeah, probably from me yelling, "Hey, fucker!"
One of those big horns.
Yeah.
Those things are really cool.
Up to me, "Hey, fucker!"
What?
But yeah, I do want to pick up maps of Chickamauga. Scott said Bragg's headquarters is literally in the middle of a forest. Yes, I actually have a story about Bragg's headquarters because I was I went for a walk out there, and where I parked.
Is this your ghost story?
Yeah, this is my ghost story. So Jen will appreciate this one. Yeah, it's my ghost story.
All
so I was walking, and I know not everybody believes in the ghost thing. I mean, I'm one that does.
I think you should.
Yeah, and I know Jen's definitely, she's a ghost person too. So anyway, I parked my car, and we were walking towards Bragg's headquarters. It was about a mile, and I'm doing a Facebook Live as I'm walking. And it's all about Bragg, and I'm basically just talking smack about him. As I get closer and closer to the headquarters, and what I'm saying about him gets, a little bit more talking smack, my phone starts acting weird. I get to the headquarters, and my phone completely, it fucks up. It dies. I can't do the live anymore. It was weird, and there was such a weird energy at his headquarters. It was angry. And all of a sudden, I didn't want to be there anymore. And I just took off running. It took me a lot quicker to get back to the car than it did walking there. But it was just, I don't ever need to go back there again.
Everybody has their weird experiences. I mean, I know you just kind of mentioned this, but we're certainly going to have Jen Price on.
Yes.
When we talk about the ghosts of Gettysburg, and that'll be a lot of fun to talk about that.
Well, I think it's going to really, not just ghosts at Gettysburg, but just ghosts in general, because Chickamauga is a very, it's like Gettysburg. It's a very powerful center of energy. You go up on Snodgrass Hill. Every time I go on Snodgrass Hill, for a month after, I'm feeling like I can do anything. There's just some energy about being there that makes you feel good.
I mean, certainly, without a doubt. I mean, certainly when you're talking about some of these places you go, and it goes back to what we were saying before about how certain battlefields reach out to you, right? Yeah. Obviously, I mean, that one specifically reaches out to you. How else is a Canadian citizen going to fall in love with the battlefield unless it calls out to you,
yeah,
right?
Well, as 10, I fell in love with Gettysburg when I went there for the first time with my parents. So, I didn't want to leave. It was
I mean, you should be falling in love with Tim Hortons and things like that, not
David.
Battlefields. But
you know what? You know who's got the Tim Hortons thing covered for me is John Heckman, tattooed historian.
We got to get John Heckman on one of these days,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
He's on Twitter.
Patriots fan too.
Yeah,
and a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, he's on Twitter as I think it's Inked Historian. Look him up on Facebook as Tattooed Historian. He does a lot of great live streams. He goes right to the battles and all that. And
he's an overall real good dude, though.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. He and I are kind of he and I kind of say we fill in the gaps for each other with our respective countries, because I'm I don't like Tim Hortons, not a big fan of poutine, and I think he loves both of those things. So he makes up for my faults as a Canadian. Basically, that's what I say. I'm when I visited him in Gettysburg, I brought him some Tim Hortons coffee.
There you go.
Yep.
No, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
A fellow tattoo Civil War Twitter historian.
Yeah, tattooed diva bitch here. I'm actually, so I can announce this now, I'm getting a tattoo in December.
Oh, you finally decided, huh? You didn't tell me what it was going to be. It's going to be December?
I thought I told you it was December.
No, you told me. No, you didn't. You told me you were going to get it.
In December. I thought it.
You said.
You just admitted that you don't listen.
No, I'm totally serious. I don't listen, but you're right about that. I'll stand guilty of that. But no, you said you were getting one. You didn't tell me when you weren't going to tell me when you were going to get it.
I had the consultation in December.
You didn't say December 4th though. What you're finally getting that Red Sox tattoo? That's awesome. You're getting that big Tom Brady winking tattoo of that GIF I always send you with him blinking. you're gonna get a TB12. That's awesome, Mary. Way to step up.
I'm gonna get a Wheaton tattoo.
You should get a wait. Better like that. You should totally wait.
I'm not gonna say what the tattoo is.
I know what the tattoo is.
I know you know.
You have told me what the tattoo is. I'm not gonna say it, but you have told me what the tattoo is. You just didn't tell me when you're gonna do it.
Jen's Jen is also a tattooed Twitter historian, which is awesome. Allie said, I was jokingly talking shit at the Mississippi Monument in Vicksburg, and I almost turned my ankle going down the 2 stairs. It had my brother said the ghost heard me and weren't happy. Yeah, that's been pretty much my.
So my
experience.
tattoo. So about a month or so ago, I got it. Right? It was about a month ago.
Yes, and I had the play-by-play from you.
You certainly did.
Oh, Jen. Oh, funny comment from Jen. My aunt says I'm a woo-woo magnet.
Oh, what the hell that means. You know, but I got about a month ago, I got a tattoo on my left calf of a Civil War cavalry hat with a background of the setting sun at Gettysburg with a little round top.
Yep.
And it hurt. It did. It did.
But it's awesome.
It looks good, but it fucking hurts. I'm not gonna lie, it fucking hurts. So hopefully your experience is a little better than mine. Actually, well, you know, it wasn't too bad. The problem was, and I'm sure people have been reading on this right now, have got a tattoo before, is they don't do it all one. Like they do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then he'll like the guy will go for like 2 minutes and he'll stop for a minute and then he'll start again. And like whenever you reach a certain point when it just gets numb, and then he stops and the pain starts again. If he just kept doing it, it wouldn't hurt, and that was the problem. And then when they color it in, they have that one thing that has like 10 needles on it, they just rub it like this. Fuck them.
Yeah. I mean, mine's gonna be here. Oh, there's a few comments. Jen, I know what it's gonna be. Ben, I can send you some portraits of him. LOL. Thanks. I'll let you know. Gabe said, I got a chill when I walked the ground where the Orphan Brigade was slaughtered by Mendenhall's nearly 50 cannon. So I think the Orphan Brigade was led by Helm. Kentucky Orphan Brigade was led by Benjamin Harden.
Lincoln's
brother-in-law.
half brother-in-law, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Calf doesn't hurt. Y'all take you know what? It did hurt. It did. It just did.
Darren's a wimpy bitch, so don't worry about it.
I mean, it wasn't stepping on a Lego pane, but it did hurt. It did hurt. And it's, you know, the guy tells me that if you get one on your torso, that's the worst pain.
Fuck that, no.
Like he had this tattoo that went on his neck, like his throat, like that, and I'm like, that must have fucking hurt. He goes, no, it didn't. He goes, I have a tattoo on my stomach. He goes, that was the worst pain I've ever had in my entire life as far as pain goes. No. But the calf was certainly no picnic. It wasn't. But again, that's my second tattoo, and my first one was a million years ago. I have my fraternity letters. Hope Fritz is still watching because he's got that same tattoo. And but this one was my first like full real one, and it did hurt, but it wasn't unbearable. So, Mary, when you get that big spread Tom Brady tattoo across your back with those 6 Super Bowl trophies in his hands, it'll probably hurt for a little while, but you'll feel okay afterwards. Put a little Aquaphor on there, it'll come out perfect for you.
Fucker. Paul said tattoo of Oho out. Okay, so I guess I can tell some of what I'm gonna get, but some I want to leave as a surprise. I am going to get Oliver Otis Howard signature tattooed.
Very cool.
There. But there's a couple other things I'm getting done too that I'm not going to say right now.
In the anticipation, you can cut with a knife.
Yeah.
But we've got pretty good. Pretty cool. Real quick about the ghost thing though, if I can jump away from that for a second, we'll talk about your tattoo. I love the idea of the Howard signature. That is so cool.
I mean, I told you.
Yeah, I know
about it.
I know you did.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be pretty cool. But Gettysburg, and whether you believe with the ghost thing or not, that's your individual opinion. But I challenge anyone to go to Gettysburg and not say you feel some kind of spiritual up there. And you don't have to believe in ghosts, but you constantly feel like you're being watched. That feeling like when you go to a party and you go to the bathroom and like you like see like you open up the medicine cabinet and you look around, that weird feeling. Not that I do that, but that's but that feeling you have. And I was at the Farnsworth house one day, and I'll send this to I send this to you, but I'll send it to Jen if she wants it. But I got an awesome ghost voice, like an EVP.
And you got to hear the ghost voice.
And it's really cool. I won't spoil it, but I can get that online probably, right? Can I do that? through the website or the Twitter? I'll have to send it to you, and I don't know how to do it. I'll send it to you if you want to post it.
Yeah, if you send me because it's in Audacity, right? So if you send me the file, then I can get it posted. And
I don't know what it is. I'll just text it to you or email it to you, and you can figure it out.
Yep.
But it's really, really, really cool. And everyone has had these weird experiences, and I've definitely had some there. There's no question. I mean, I've not seen, Slimer or anything flying around. I haven't seen that, but I mean, but you certainly have these weird feelings of all of a sudden something hits you, like you're being watched, or it gets really cold, or you have this weird. There's so much sadness at that battlefield, and I think that's why. And I know we've mentioned this before, but you go to a place like Gettysburg, and it is the most peaceful, serene, beautiful place. Absolutely. You sit around top at sunset or during the day, and you look out at that battlefield. It's like what you imagine paradise to be. And you realize that it's the most, it is the most violent ground in this country by far. I mean, it's America's Passchendaele. It's just Normandy. That's where it is. It's almost like it gave up every ounce of its hate, anger, all at once, and it just exercised it. All what's left is peace and tranquility. That's the feeling I get when I'm there.
That I feel that too, and I feel that, and I'm sure you will too when you go to Snodgrass Hill. Is that same feeling of peace and tranquility? And again, you come away from it feeling confident for some reason. Like it's like Thomas' spirit lives there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've had experience at Gettysburg. I've had experiences at Antietam. Everywhere I go. I had an experience in the Seminary Ridge Museum.
Everybody has.
Ford's Theater too. Ford's Theater was one of my first ones. Like Ford's Theater is crazy.
That Seminary Ridge Museum, if you haven't been there, is a creepy fucking place.
Oh my God.
The two dudes the Gettysburg Union guys who died from Cape Cod, where I live, were buried about 100 yards from here. Yeah. They both died at the Seminary Ridge, and so you can certainly feel it. The other place I had that, and we've talked about this offline, but the other place that I had a really creepy feeling was at the Surratt House on H Street in Washington. Yeah. Because this is a boarding house where she lived in Washington D.C. with really the nest that hatched the conspiracy, that whole Stanton phrase. Yeah. But I walked in there. This is last fall. I was down there for the Patriot Redskin game for the weekend with some friends, and I walked in there, and I swear to God, like my legs were like numb. I just had this it was almost like you get off the tilt-a-whirl at the amusement park, your head's dizzy and spinning. Yep. And I'm like, it just had this weird feeling to it. And that's settled down a little bit. The Scorpion Bowl certainly helped with that. But as time went, and then the karaoke later, which is pretty good.
The drinking.
Call me maybe.
Unfortunately, I could not drink when I was at Ford's Theater when I was 17 years old. But I walked in there. Yeah, right. My teacher would have really allowed that. Walked in there, and like I just felt weird. Like my head was spinning. And when I sat down in the seat, I kept looking up at the president's box, looking at the stage, and I was literally like gripping the armrest like this, and I was shaking, but I was having to kind of mask it because I didn't want anybody to know that like I'm freaking out. And it was just unreal, the experience.
I could almost see you there freaking out with your Justin Bieber t-shirts, crying, holding onto that rail.
You know what, fucker? Justin Bieber wasn't born then. Way to go with math.
Actually, no,
he probably was around, but he was like 3 years old.
You know what? I apologize. That was over the line, Mary. I realize that.
Nothing's ever over the line.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. But I mean, but the reality is there are places you can go that certainly resonate with you individually. Yep. And for me, it was without a doubt Farnsworth House in Gettysburg. If you go, holy shit, you go in that basement at Farnsworth House and you don't feel anything. I don't know what to tell you, because it is a creepy. This is a place where they stored bodies. This is a place with a lot of guys were just injured and dying. It was a field hospital. The basement of Farnsworth House, I believe it's the Ghost of Gettysburg. No, it's not Ghost of Gettysburg. It's that's Nesbitt's group. There's another group that does tours out of there, and you sit in there. They do a tour. It starts at midnight, where you sit in the basement of the Farnsworth House, and they tell you stories. And it's just really, really cool, and it's just creepy. And then they take you on the battlefield, and they take you to a place across the street, and they tell you some more stories. But you feel it, and it's you know what? And even if you're not a big believer in the ghost and spiritual world and that shit, look, every major religion in this world is based on some kind of post-life or some kind of ghost thing.
Yep.
And who knows, but you'll feel it. If you go to, if you have not been to a battlefield, especially at Gettysburg or in Antietam, but especially at Gettysburg, you definitely feel it.
Yeah, you'll feel that. You'll feel it at Chickamauga.
But Farnsworth House, Sachs Bridge, Iverson's Pits, Spangler's Spring, Devil's Den, those certain places on that battlefield, you can absolutely feel it. You absolutely feel it.
I feel it, like the minute I cross into Gettysburg, I feel it. Like I just have to go by the Buford statue, and that's when I start feeling it. Same with like once I get on the Chickamauga battlefield, I feel it. We do have a few comments here to get caught up on too. Scott said, one thing I love about Chickamauga is the sheer information on the tablets all over the field. It really helps when you're there. Yeah, there's tablets all over Chickamauga which explain the battle so well. They're very, very well done. And they're actually, that's another unique thing about Chickamauga too, is just how well the battle is explained on these tablets. Ben, you already read this one. Cap doesn't hurt. Janet means ghosts like me.
It does hurt. Ben's wrong.
Jen said, tattoos are not licked on by kittens. My worst one was the rainbow heart on my ankle because they did a bloodline and that was awful. Otherwise, it's uncomfortable, but not awful. Ben said, again, you misspoke Frank Wheaton's signature. Again, you misspelled O.O. Howard's name, Ben. Leonard said, I told that John Bell Hood ghost story for years to my college classes, and my oldest daughter would come to class when she was in 5th grade. So one day after class, she pointed out it could not have been Hood because I felt 2 hands and Hood only had one good one. Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Leonard,
come on hot there.
Cool. Fritz, did we go to Papa San for your tattoo?
Yeah, we did go to Papa Sam's. That's exactly where we went. So he's talking about the fraternity tattoo. So we got initiated in the fraternity, and that's a whole other story.
Hazing?
Nope, I'm not allowed to talk about that. Fritz knows. This is a Fritz and Darren story only. But so we got initiated, and we ended up going to Papa San's, and that's where I got my tattoo. And that was me and all my pledge brothers. We went and got those tattoos. Now you know what though, it's one of my most like top 10 most vivid memories I had was getting that tattoo. That was a great night right there.
Awesome.
But yes, Fritz, absolutely Papa San's. That's where we all went.
Ian said, I agree. Even as a Brit, Gettysburg moves me whenever I visit. Yep. I find it's cool. We have international listeners too. Like, this is awesome. Jen said, the atmosphere of Gettysburg is just different. I agree. I have a story about the farmhouse. Send me the clip.
I will. I'll send it to her.
Breckinridge was replaced by Brigadier General Roger Hanson, who was mortally wounded at the Battle of Stones River on January 2nd, 1862. Hanson's replacement, Brigadier General Benjamin Hardin Helm, was also mortally wounded during the Battle of Chickamauga in September 1863. I love that our listeners can help us out with this too. It's awesome.
We talked about Helm's mortally wounded at Chickamauga.
Yep, we did. Jen said, yeah, and there are other ideas about why it's so freaking haunted at Gettysburg. Besides the battle, the ground and the land may contribute to the spiritual activity. And
well,
that's actually the same with Chickamauga. It was a very powerful place spiritually for Native Americans.
She's talking specifically of this theory is going back to my ghost hunting days, but she's talking about the granite and she's talking about the streams where the energy allegedly comes. And there's a lot that there are certain types of rocks in the streams that help bring out the thing. And she also mentions the mature tour. Yeah, so the midnight one is the mature tour, which is a lot of fun. They just basically, it's like us, they just swear. They say fucking ghosts instead of ghosts. But the landscape, I mean, theoretically, the Battle of Gettysburg should be called the Battle of Monocacy Creek because it's if they're same after water like Antietam or Bull Run, but they call it Gettysburg. But most of them are named after water. But Monocacy Creek runs through that, and so because of that creek and the water source, in all the granite like a Devil's Den and all of Culp's Hill, there's a lot of rock formations that allegedly bring out energy, and that's a true story. Yeah. I mean, for the ghost world anyway.
Jen said, love the Seminary Ridge Museum. I went there a few weeks ago and did the cupola tour. Yeah, I've done the cupola tour too, and so has Darren. We're planning on doing that tour, I think, when we visit there together. It is worth it. It's so worth it to do.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jim said, I have a tattoo on each shoulder. The next one will be on ankle on the underside of be an onk on the underside of my wrist. I want a Civil War tattoo, but it's just a matter of choosing what I want to get. Yeah, it took me a long time to decide what I wanted. And I finally decided a few months ago that it was.
Well, a tattoo is a very personal thing. And my one I got was for a specific reason for a friend of mine. And so it's really what calls to you. Yeah. I mean, when I was getting mine a few weeks ago, there was a woman there like, well, she's looking at a book like she's getting I'll get this one. I'm like, wow, that seems like a waste. Like, you want to get something that calls to you, you know? Like, I can see Jen get a picture of her hugging a tree, right?
Yeah.
That would be her
hugs
tattoo.
witness trees, which is
She could hug
awesome.
the witness tree at Gettysburg, which I reenacted, by the way.
Yep, you
I
did.
did that.
Actually,
The Devil's Den.
she could get a witness tree. And yep, for the OO signature, I actually I know somebody who works for the Lincoln Memorial University, which Howard helped to found in Tennessee. And
cool.
they're actually going to send me like a high-res image of his signature. What I wanted was a signature from when he was in the Western Theater, but those are hard to come by, apparently. And because I wanted a story to go with it, but I'm still gonna have a story to go with the tattoo. But yeah, it took me a long time till something spoke to me, and it was definitely O.O. Howard's signature. Leonard said the slaughter pen at Stones River is eerie as well. There was like a 20-degree temperature drop on the ground. Wow. Jen wants to go to Stones River. Yeah, that's actually a place that Jen and I have been talking about road tripping to. So Darren, maybe we need to make that a Civil War Breakfast Club road trip, and we go with Jen.
Oh, I'd love to. It'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Ben just said he just wanted to round the boot, tell you you're old. Who are you talking to, Ben?
Who the fuck? What?
We're both old.
Tell me about it. Oh
yeah, Jen, the mature tour. Yeah, something happened at Saxbridge too. I have to add these to my list.
Saxbridge is really, really cool.
Speaking of fuck it, and to show that I'm listening to the podcast, I thought I would offer an answer to one of the questions proposed in part 1 about the 9th Ohio Infantry Regiment, because I became curious too. After some research, the best I can come up with for the German for fuck it is Scheiße drauf. In Little English, we would say shit on it. Scheiße is German for shit. Yes, and I know that. Funny story, my maternal grandma was German, and she spoke German until World War II broke out, and then they had to stop because she lived here in Ontario. In an area that had been settled by German immigrants, and she said she spoke 100% German, and then when World War II broke out, they had to stop, so they had to switch to English. But the one thing that she remembered was the swear words, and she taught me how to swear in German when I was like 6 years old.
Fritz mentioned the 9th Ohio, and which was really cool because they're mostly Germans, and and people don't realize that 1 of every 4 Union soldiers in the Civil War was foreign. A lot of them are German, some are Irish.
11th Corps.
11th Corps, right? But there's that great story that I love of the second day of the night fighting at Gettysburg. We talked a little before that, when you had Avery's North Carolinians and Hayes Louisiana Tigers fighting against the 11th Corps and Samuel Carroll and Weidrich's Battery and all those guys. Well, the Confederates get to the guns, and the Germans guys have the guns, and this one guy grabs the gun like puts his hands on the barrel and says, "I claim this gun in the name of the Confederacy." And the German guy who has the handle says, "Esse zu haben," and pulls it, which means Germany, meaning you shall have it, meaning the contents of the gun, not the gun, and blew the guy to 1,000 freaking pieces.
Yeah, I heard that story. That's an amazing story. I heard that one on Matt Callery's podcast, I think, addressing Gettysburg.
Oh, really?
I think that's where I heard. I wasn't quite done reading Fritz's comment yet, so
sorry. Yeah, it was.
Darren's a bastard, and he interrupts.
So Fritz, just so you know, Fritz, the Gettysburg Address is 272 words. So you want to keep it under that, but that's okay because
Okay, I'm going to say this on behalf of Fritz. You fucker.
You know how many times Fritz has said that to me? The things that guy did to me.
He should
be. Fucking love Fritz. He's awesome.
About those things the other form I found is Spikes. Which reminds me of listening to Darren's accent. Told you he had an accent, fucker.
Who said that?
Fritz. I'm reading his comment that you interrupted me on. But the most common I found was, you do. But the most common I found was Scheiße drauf. Just wanted to add to the discussion without straying from the tone. Kind of wondering what ads are going to pop up on my Facebook after Googling how to say fucking German. You need to let us know next week.
Oh, he's gonna get hardcore German shit.
You're gonna get part 2 on what showed up in Fritz's ad.
You're gonna get all these Fraulein Facebook requests that are fake bots. Is what you're gonna get.
And Jen, she's like, that's why I got the pink ribbon survivor tattoo. Yeah, so
that's a good one.
Jen's got the pink ribbon because she is a cancer survivor, breast cancer survivor, actually. So
yeah, good for Jen. Obviously, that's a lot of people go through that, and thank God Jen's okay. That's a horrible thing.
No, Jen's like she's. If I ever could say I had a sister, it is definitely Jay Price and also Jen Rowling, my artist friend. Definitely.
Where's Rowling, by the way? She didn't come on today.
I don't know. I have to ask her about that.
Must have been something you said.
Yeah, probably not me. Maybe I actually text her fucker and she, I don't know. Then never thought about a witness tree tattoo. My next one was supposed to be a turtle, and she's like, there you go. Ben says, I have a tattoo of the Rhode Island Civil War staff button on my calf. Same button Wheaton wore at Bull Run, just saying. You misspelled Howard again. Jen, love your phone case, Mary. Oh, yeah.
Rail splitter.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure
Ben. I want to get one of Howard. My Sherman phone case actually is Borkin, so I had to replace this one. But that's I do want to. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. It's called Put a 5 on it.
That's my phone case.
I like that. I need a Patriots phone case too, actually. Scott said, unfortunately, Stones River can be easily done in less than a whole day since much of it has been built over. Awesome place still. Yeah, some battlefield. I think Franklin was like that for a little bit, but they've reclaimed some of the battlefield. Like where Claiborne was shot was a fucking Pizza Hut for a long time.
Is it the one they all got stuck in line? We talked about
Franklin.
I know, I'm just kidding you. But what was I going to say?
Can you listen ever?
Oh God, whatever. Anyway, I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say.
Jim said, I live in Murfreesboro and Stones River is practically my backyard. It's such a shame.
I know what I was going to say. Ben, I'm sure, as a fellow Rhode Islander, I'm not from fucking Rhode Island, but fellow New England of Rhode Island, I'm sure he's been and seen the Gettysburg Cannon at the Providence, the Rhode Island State Capitol, which is really, really cool. It's got a cannonball that's stuck in the barrel, and they have it. It's a beautiful cannon. It's a Napoleon, right in the foyer of the state capitol, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Gabe said Franklin and Nashville are not that far away. Yeah, I think when we go to Chickamauga, we got to go to Franklin because it's not that far.
I thought Franklin was near Nashville. It's not.
It is, but it's not that far.
But how far is Nashville from Chickamauga?
Like maybe a couple hours.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, fuck, I know. That's why I'm asking the freaking question.
Well, I'm gonna be fucking driving, motherfucker.
You'll be driving, all right.
We'll pick your ass up at the fucking airport.
But no, that's the only Western theater battlefields I've been to. I've been at Kennesaw, and I've been to some of the Atlanta stuff when I was there for the football game a couple of years ago. But Chickamauga will be fun. Chattanooga will be fun. Franklin. I've been to Nashville. Nashville's pretty cool. Nashville's great. Nashville's
I want to go to David Ivey, the one guy that he talks with us quite a bit on Facebook. He and another guy were posting some photos from Franklin, and I think it's going to be a very humbling battlefield to visit, and it's definitely a battle we are going to talk about on the podcast in November. November is going to be very battle heavy for us because we have the battles for Chattanooga, which are probably going to take up 2 episodes, and we have Franklin as well.
We're going to talk about Gettysburg Address too.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Gettysburg Address as well.
I know your Thanksgiving is this weekend.
It is, yes. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. Yep. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody, anybody who's watching in Canada.
American Thanksgiving is November, and so certainly we'll maybe do some
celebrate every year.
And people don't always realize that Thanksgiving was a holiday that Lincoln created around the Civil War. So that was it's a Civil War themed holiday. People don't always realize that. How come you guys don't have it at the same time we do? You need to make that happen. You're a government employee. You can make that happen.
I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Why don't you find out? Why don't you do something? Why don't you email Trudeau? He doesn't return. He blocked me on Twitter. I can't talk to Trudeau. But you know what you should do?
Like shitting all over him for cheering for the whatever the
because of Raptors. He didn't block me on Twitter, but I rode him hard for that Raptors series.
He's really awesome. Fucker.
The Celtics get beat by Miami. It's fucking horrible. The Miami team. Anyway.
Happy Thanksgiving, Canada. Thank you.
Hey.
Well, look, she wished me a happy Thanksgiving before you did.
That's not true because okay, fine. I already said that to you, but that's okay.
You did? When?
I don't know. Maybe virtually. But but we have Columbus Day this weekend.
You do.
Which is great because that's kind of like finding your own backyard and celebrating, but whatever. But we get Monday off. We have an extra day to empty Yingling cans, which is always a great thing.
And I got an extra day to drink some pint-sized beer cans.
Definitely. I didn't bring a koozie this time. It's upstairs, but no. But I like the Western theater battles though. I mean, Kennesaw is really, really cool, and especially if you park your car there. Notice there was no accent, and you basically walk. I didn't say it.
The kids are in the yard, not too far from the car.
Shame on you, Matt Damon.
I just quoted Jaws, and that's a New York accent.
I know, that's awful.
The kids are in the yard, not too far from the car.
You know what's so funny is I lost a lot of my Boston accent. Fritz says I have an accent. I don't know if I do or I don't, but I kind of
do.
But I lost a lot of it when I was living in Texas, just by being around them. You definitely,
I know I have an accent. You tell me all the time.
My mother has the worst accent. Oh my God.
My dad's got the Canadian drawl, which thankfully I don't have.
She has that horrific. Oh my God. But Kennesaw is cool because you basically park at the visitor center and you can drive it or you can walk it, but the road was closed for cars. So we had to walk it. And so we ended up, it's like a 5 to 7 mile walk when you walk all the way around a big Kennesaw, little Kennesaw, Pigeon Hill. We did drive to Cheatham Hill because it's like 5 miles off. Cheatham Hill is kind of like East okay, fine. You know something? I was going to say it was like the same distance from East Calvary Battlefield to Gettysburg. So you know what's going to happen? We're going to go and I'm going to watch you walk your ass up York Road to the East Calvary Field. And I'm going to drive next to you with a megaphone and I'm going to yell, knees to chest, let's go. Okay, since that's how you're going to be, okay? But it's like 5 miles away. It's off the battlefield, and it does take a little bit of time to get there. So we did drive it.
I'm going to race to the OO statue. So
now you're walking to Calvary Hill now. So that's what you're doing.
We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. I'll Facebook Live the fuck out of that. This sucks. Fuck this. You suck, fucker. But if you go to Kennesaw in all seriousness, it's really, really cool. It's got like an Antietam-like visitor center you can go to. It's small and it's got a little movie, but the walk, it is a beautiful vista. You get to the top of Big Kennesaw, you can see all of Atlanta, and you can see Stone Mountain in the distance, and you can see the whole skyline. You can see that river I can't pronounce. You can see the whole thing.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah. You think it's Chattahoochee?
Well, I can't pronounce Massachusetts.
You can't say Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
I'm gonna post the video. I'm gonna post the video of like from May of you trying to pronounce that. I'm gonna post that. Remember that? That was awesome. But it's a great place. It's a great walk because you're going through fields and rocks and you're climbing up, and it's a great hike. Bill was with me and he was bitching the whole time. It was awesome.
Well, I can tell you I won't bitch the whole time because I love walking. Fritz says your accent's pretty mild. Yeah, Fritz is right about that. Gabe says I speak Spanglish here in West Texas with twang. Jen, still drinking Gatorade because I ran this morning. #lame. No, you could add vodka to it.
Well, my accent, Fritz doesn't have much of a Texan accent either, what I remember. You remember our friend Jerry we talked about had a real Texan accent. Hey, Fritz, do you remember Chris Pruitt? Do you remember him? He was somebody who was with us back in the day. I remember he had a real Texan accent. I remember him. And there was a guy named Brad Whitaker. Do you remember him? Maybe you don't. There's a lot of brain cells lost in those days between us, admittedly. But in case you do, those were like legit Texan accents. I remember Brad and Chris. My God. But Fritz didn't have a bad one. He was pretty good. But mine is mild, but it was worse, admittedly.
I mean, I think I have a pretty strong Canadian accent from what I've heard from my American friends. But then my Canadian friends tell me that I have a drawl. So I don't know.
You have a strong Canadian accent.
Yeah. J Price, I could run it. And then she said, Mary, I'll drive you. Yeah. Jen will pick me up in the car and then I'll be driving away from you. And all you'll see is like, hey, fucker, coming out the window.
That's the girl power thing, That's fine. Jen can drive you. It's all good. Hey, I'll be at the 4-score happy hour emptying Yingling cans. You guys drive around and freaking.
And Jen and I'll have to push you back to the hotel in a fucking shopping cart. That'll be magical.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, sure.
Come on, Jeff. We got to get him in the shopping cart.
After you're going to be killed at the fucking mine, you and Jen are going to drive away. I'm going to get stuck with fucking Lickbo and Bill friggin' bleeding on the friggin' Steinway Avenue.
After I stand up on a chair at the mine and say, Howard called it first, not Hancock. And I run out of there and leave you there.
Oh, okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, fine. But anyway, as we were saying, I'm not gonna walk in the battlefield, Jesus Christ. But as far as that goes, Kennesaw was my favorite to walk. I would say Gettysburg and Antietam are very similar. You could park it like the Virginia Monument. Yeah, Chickamauga will be cool. That'll be really cool. But you can walk. When I was at Gettysburg in August, yes. We parked right at the bottom of Big Round Top, and we walked through Devil's Den, walked all the way through Triangular Field, through the Rosewoods of avoided the Clown, the Rosewoods Clown. We found a lot of cool monuments. Now that was a fun day. That was fun.
It was actually my birthday weekend, and it was funny. I wanted to be in Gettysburg for my birthday weekend, but this dude here, I'm gonna give him some praise. He literally, figuratively, took me to Gettysburg that weekend.
We filmed a lot of stuff. She came with us virtually, and so we had some fun. But that day, finding some of those old monuments is really, really cool. But that's the best part of the battlefields. I know a completely off fucking topic, but it doesn't matter.
There's no topic on these lives.
I know. But the best part about the battlefields is the place you can go, and the place you can see, and the place you can walk. Like you can walk behind the 20th Indiana Monument, and you can walk down that hill, and you can see and there's no monuments, there's no paths, there's no markers. You can literally see what the Confederate soldiers saw walking up, and there's a really cool story where they talk. Some of the soldiers, this is Manning's brigade, the 3rd Arkansas. They talk about being in a cauldron where they would run up the hill, shoot, roll back down again. Load, come back up, and you can go back and you can see it exactly the way they saw it. It's exactly the same, and that's what's cool about some of these battlefields. Like the people that drive me crazy, like people like the Gettysburg people, who they'll buy that little DVD or the CD at the visitor center, and they'll drive around and get off and stop, and they don't walk around.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't understand that.
But the 20th Indiana is a great. Oh, it got quiet all of a sudden. But the 20th Indiana is a really cool one because that did I just got really cold. I just froze. But that was Joseph Wheeler's regiment, the 20th Indiana, and he was a guy who they're fighting the 3rd Arkansas. He ends up getting shot in the temple and dying right there where the monument is. There's a rock right behind. You can see where they put the flag. But it's really, really cool. But you can go past that. You gotta walk. I mean, the problem in the summertime is I like to go to the battlefields around the same time the battle happened to get a feel for what they went through.
Same here.
But the problem with that is that it's you get those little thicket things, those little fucking things stick to your leg all the time, and there's the poison ivy and stuff. You gotta deal with that. Especially through my tight t-shirt, my whistle, and my rollerblades.
Yeah, your roller skates. Yeah, it's going to be so.
We talked about last time.
It must be magical being you. I've often thought that. It's going to be magical.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, walking the battlefield
with
you and listening to you bitch about getting thistles and shit all over your clothes, and then.
Is that what they're called? Thistles? They're called sticky burrs.
I don't know what the fuck they're called.
I don't know, whatever.
But
you can go, but whatever it is, you can go back there and you can see the same things they saw. But Wheeler's 20th Indiana is a really, really cool one. That whole battle line of Augustus, not Van Horn, Hobart Ward, his line on Gettysburg is a really cool place. You can walk from right from the 4th Maine all the way to all the way down to the 99th Pennsylvania, that battle line. You can see so many cool stuff by going through there. No one ever goes there.
No, there's so many parts of battlefields that are not explored, right?
No one, speaking of that battlefield, no one ever goes to Rosewoods. No one ever walks the Triangular Field. You know what's a good thing to do? We did this one time, and I'm surprised the snake or the clown didn't get me going through that one. You start on Emmitsburg Road, and you follow the path of the 1st Texas. Okay, and you walk through all that brush, the triangular field heading up towards Devil's Den, where they fought the Augustus Van Hornelis's New Yorkers, the Orange Blossom Brigade regiment, and you can literally walk through there and see the same thing they did, and it's amazing. Those rocks, those boulders, but no one ever does it. I love to do that stuff, but no one ever does.
No, that's what I love to do too. It's just like I love to go off the beaten path at Chickamauga as well. The Crows are having their daily meeting apparently. So got a few comments here. Gabe, Kennesaw Mountain Landis, first commissioner of baseball, is a distant relative, not something I'm happy about.
Very cool.
He just wrote a boot.
He said a book. Very cool. And you thank the ghost of him for knocking the Yankees out last night, by the way. You thank him for me.
Jen, that's why I walk to the bars. That is 100% what Darren and I are doing when we go to Gettysburg and chat.
Well, that's why when you go to Gettysburg, you got to stay at the 1863.
Yeah.
Which I'm wearing my hat right now. Or you got to stay at the Inn of Cemetery Hill, and you walk, and you can go right up that. You can do it. You can do a really good Civil War Gettysburg pub crawl right on Baltimore Pike and Steinway.
That's what we're gonna do.
But I would not fuck around with the Cumberland County cops in freaking Gettysburg. Nope, absolutely not. But though you have to go to Thirsty Farmer in Biglerville, though. You have to go up there for that. You got to
record an episode there, actually.
If you haven't been to Thirsty Farmer, which is right by the Cashtown Inn, you got to go because it is a great bar. It's a beautiful, beautiful vista too.
Leonard said, later, folks, great time today. Watch out for the ghost of John Bell Hood. Thank you for joining us, Leonard.
Yeah.
Chris is on Facebook. Crazy Wild Times with Chris. I have no Texas accent except for saying y'all. Well, Fritz, let me tell you, I'm a Canadian that says y'all. That's how you can know if I don't put our names on our tweets on our Twitter account. I'm the one that is saying y'all. That's how you know I'm
gonna have to look up Chris. Chris was a good dude. He I remember because he was somebody who was a class before me, I think, but he's a good dude. But he had a hard Texan accent. I mean, him and Jerry Conger, Fritz, were the two I remember specifically who had the real. There was a couple other ones too, but those are the ones I really remember. I'm trying to think who else. There was a few other ones, but those are the ones I really remember.
Jen said this year at Antietam, we actually went all the way down to the creek and Snavely's Ford. I think Laura took me there when I went there like 3 years ago. Laura and I went on this epic hike. So my friend Laura, she actually lives in Sharpsburg, which Darren, you and I will probably meet her you'll probably meet her at some point. She's really awesome.
If I don't die of COVID.
I don't know. You'll die of something. I don't know. I'll hear about it.
I'll be dead already.
Fucker. Jen, the 20th Indiana Memorial is in the Rose Woods. A guy from my hometown was killed there. John Wheeler is from Jen's hometown. I go to visit his grave every year in the anniversary of Gettysburg. Dave said, you can use the apps from the American Battlefield Trust to keep up at the battlefields. Yep, I've done that before. Okay. They're excellent.
Absolutely.
Jen, I've done the trail. It's awesome. Jen, I always stay at 1863. I'm in their frequent guests club.
I'm in there. I'm in the frequent guest club for 63. I got the hat, and I also am the one in the Cemetery Hill. In its Cemetery Hill is a little bit better because you can sit on the balcony of your own individual balcony.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
They're both really cool. But 1863 is really cool. They got better breakfast there, to be honest. There's a lot of good places. My favorite hotel, which is gone now, was the old Robert E. Lee headquarters up there in Chambersburg. Seriously, the one that was up there by the First Days Battlefield. That was the best. And you know what? I loved. I'm a member of the American Battlefield Trust, and I donate a bunch of money to them. But the one thing I disagree with was getting rid of that hotel. And I've said it over and over again. That's a hotel where Marilyn Monroe stayed one time. So it's got its own history to it. And it sucks to get rid of that because it's cool to go to the battlefield. It's cool to see the Lee headquarters and look around. It's the same. But that hotel they had the ABC, the Appalachian Beer Company right next to it. That was a good place to go. And I think they made a mistake with that one. I think they should have left that one where it was, but they don't listen to me. Talk to Gary Edelman about that one. He'll tell you all about that. But I don't agree with that one. They should have kept it.
They should have. We could have stayed there.
No, definitely. I mean, anywhere. Sleep in a freaking car. I fucking give a shit. Gettysburg. But that was a good hotel, though. In all seriousness, because it was right on the bat. You wake up in the morning, you open your door, and you're on the battlefield. That's how cool it was. Yeah. It really was. But they took it down, and I know there was some controversy about that in the town. But I think I think they should have left that the way it was. I mean, it's cool the way it is now because it's more rustic in the way it was. But
yeah.
It's just another stop on the road on the auto tour now. Yeah. It's kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, shit happens, right? Jen said Laura probably did take me on that trail. I think she did. I walked 20,000 steps that day. It was amazing. Fritz said Conger is the thickest. It's like talking to LBJ.
He's right. You talk to Jerry. Fritz, one time Jerry Conger took me to his parents' farm in Ponca, near Altus, Oklahoma. No, actually, it was worse. It was outside of Altus, Oklahoma. It makes him. Altus isn't exactly Manhattan either. This is outside of Altus, and you want to. You think his accents weren't bad? You should hear his family. I mean, I need a Jerry to English dictionary to get to that weekend. But he has a legitimate, just picture the worst Texan accent you ever heard, which is not a bad accent by any stretch, but he has it. And I couldn't understand a word. When I first got down there, I couldn't, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like people from Newfoundland here. Like, I sometimes go and visit my aunt and uncle. They have a trailer about an hour and a half from Goderich, and they have some neighbors from Newfoundland. And the one guy was talking to me one night at the campfire, and I was just like nodding my head, hoping I was like, I was like, I don't know if you agree or disagree with what he's saying. I could not understand a word because the Newfie accent is crazy. Like, it's this weird...
I never heard of Newfoundland. I never heard that.
I can't even replicate it. If you just Google Newfoundland accent...
Do they say aboot?
No.
They say aboot, say
their
process?
accent it's fucking weird. Like, this guy, I could not... He was over, like, just talking to me, and I remember he had his dog with him, and I was like, petting the dog and being like, yeah, this is great. And I not know what he was saying to me at all.
That's okay.
So Paul said, I stay at either the Best Western or Colton and walk the battlefield, never drive each day I'm in town. Yeah, that's me too.
You say at Colton, really? Nothing wrong with Colton. It just looked, I walk by there sometimes and I was just kind of like, oof. There's something about that. It looks like a 70s horror movie to me, the Colton. And I'm sure it's very, very nice. But stay at the Inn at Cemetery Hill sometime, because that place is fantastic. It's cheap. It's right there. It's a little closer. I stayed at the place across the street from the Heritage one time. I forget what the hell it is now. Maybe it is. But that place wasn't that great. It was okay. There's no Civil War theme to it. There's no Civil War pictures in the buildings and the rooms like a lot of the places are. You stayed at one of them. You stayed at the place next to the new ABC one time, didn't you?
Yeah.
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 How was that?
The Best Western is.
Okay.
You know what? I'm not like, I mean, I like my hotels to be nice, but I don't need them to be fancy ass like that kind of thing. Like, as long as
that was fancy?
The Best Western, yeah, it was expensive to stay at too. Like, I can't remember how much it was per night, but I just remember it was newly opened when I stayed there the first time.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the bed was comfortable, but like, I'm willing to try other places kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to staying at the wherever the hell we're staying.
Jeff Fritzos, he's from Shamrock, Texas. I remember that. He used to say, Shamrock and roll. He said all the time.
Shamrock and roll?
Shamrock and roll. I gotta look. I talk to Jerry on Facebook once in a while, but he's kind of gone off the grid a little bit, so I got to reach out to him.
So Paul said, also a member of the trust. I disagreed with them getting rid of the ABC in the hotel.
I think a lot of people do. I mean, it makes sense to do as far as a historical, but if you want to turn Gettysburg into historic Williamsburg, it's fine, but all you're going to do is going to drive the taxes up on the people who live there, which will be me someday, and it's going to drive the cost of the hotel. Yep, exactly. And the cost of the hotels there are going to be driven up because you're going to have less rooms.
It's going to be like Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I think it was like 75 rooms they got rid of on a place like that. And I get it, I totally do. But that was a nice hotel. I mean, it was just an average place, but you could not beat the location. You could not beat the staff. It was just a fun place to stay. And the first time I ever stayed in Gettysburg, actually no, the first time I ever stayed in Gettysburg was the 1863, but it was called something different. It was the Holiday Inn back then, but it was always the lead place after that because you could not beat the location. You couldn't. You had to drive though if you went into the town, which kind of sucked. This is before Uber, so it was a different story. Now, thank God for Uber. You know.
Yeah, we might be using Uber when we go to Washington and Chapman.
Empty those Yingling cans. It's tough to drive around, but staying downtown, the Colton's cool. I mean, I guess I haven't stayed there, but always, I don't know, but Best Western I never stayed at, but the 1863 is really, really good. If you're going to stay there, get a street-facing room and stay on the 4th floor or higher, the 4th and the 5th, because you can sit out there and people watch, and you can see the whole skyline. You can see the Lutheran Seminary. You can see Round Top. You can see the mountains. It's a beautiful view. Sometimes you run into people next door to you, and you can look at the hotel. You could look at thunderstorms and get stomach aches
with riffraff.
with people, but
your
it's
stomach
nice
ache was relieved quickly.
It certainly was, but the Inn at Cemetery Hill is my favorite because Charlie, the manager there, is a great guy. Clean rooms, you can sit in individual balconies, you can do whatever the fuck you want there, and no one gives you shit. So it's perfect. You can smoke cigars on the deck. It's awesome.
I'm gonna enjoy that balcony when I'm there, I can say that much.
I bet you will. I
will. Yeah, I definitely will. So Jen said she's got to go. Adulting sucks. Thank you, Jen. You are always an awesome part of these lives, and we are looking forward to having you on as a guest to talk some ghosts with you. Fritz said, I bet their accent is thick. Jerry is from Shamrock, Texas, in the Panhandle. Jen said, that's the Ghetto Fabulous Motel, Darren.
Which one?
I don't know.
The Colton?
And Gabe said, got to check out Jared Kiso of Letterkenny Explains 10-ply and other slang on YouTube. So Letterkenny comes up again. It's that show that was created like 35 minutes from me in Listowel, Ontario.
Oh, we talked about that last week. That Canadian show, right?
The other half of the J Squared mentioned, Jen Rowling. Ben said Holiday Inn on Steinway. And Paul said, yes, the Best Western is very nice. Colton is quite cheap, clean, but you meet some interesting staff and fellow guests.
The last thing I want to do is insult someone's business because it's not.
No, the Best Western is great.
Okay. The Best Western is nice, but I don't think I'm staying at the Colton. Sorry, Paul, I'm not. And I'm not a hotel snob. I may be a little bit.
Maybe we should though, just to try it out.
That place looks like every hotel of every horror movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I walked by that's right near Gettysburg Geddes, right there at the corner of Washington and.
I know exactly where it is. I walked by it and I thought Norman Bates runs this place.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, who the fuck stays here?
Maybe we should try it though, just to. I mean, it might be like the Rose Hotel or whatever that was in Schitt's Creek, right?
Fine, I'm not gonna get fucking murdered or fucking hotel in Gettysburg. At least I get to be killed in Gettysburg. I'm gonna die anyway, but at that place. But no,
you're probably gonna die anyway. So
realistically, but it's probably very, very nice. But it's just a weird looking place. And my friend Bill's friend Dave lives right next door to there, and he's always trashing the people and always trashing it. So that's probably where it comes from. He's like the tattooed guy that I was.
Just try it once.
I'm gonna show it on
one night.
It's only a place to freaking sleep anyway. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I plan on my life goal is to stay at the Willard for a couple nights.
The Willard in Washington. You want to talk about a great place? There's no place better than the Willard.
Is the Willard?
The Willard, definitely. So
I will splurge for the Willard.
But just it's the Willard's really, really nice because you stay at the Willard. If you haven't been to the Willard in Washington D.C., it's the place where it's right near the White House. And it's where U.S. Grant, when he was president, used to walk over after work at the White House. He used to go and smoke cigars in the lobby of the Willard. Yep. And people would come up to him and say, hey, can I get this? Can I need a favor? And that's where the phrase lobbyist comes from. From Grant sitting in the lobby. And you could sit in the lobby and you could fucking fire a cigar up, just like Grant did. And so when we went there last fall, we got to do that, me and Moni. Without that, and if you're a Civil War complete fucking loser like me, that is heaven. That is absolutely heaven. Yeah, you too.
You and I are doing that when we go to Washington.
To fire up a freaking cigar with Grant did and talk. Oh my God, Jesus God.
There's nothing. We're doing that. We're going to DC. Fritz said this broadcast is so well-rounded, not just learning about the battles, but some weeks it's like Siskel and Ebert, some weeks it's like TripAdvisor. It
is a little bit early. He didn't like the Siskel and Ebert one though. We were talking about movies. I don't think he liked that too much. I think he said
so. I was on my way back from Chattanooga one time, and we were like Googling hotel stuff, and I found this one hotel, and the review was "Love yourself enough not to stay here."
There was. I was looking at a hotel. I was going out to Detroit one time for a college hockey.
There's some there.
And so we stayed at a town called Taylor, Michigan.
Yeah,
my friend wanted to stay there because there was a Hooters attached to the hotel. That's why we stayed there. I know exactly
where that hotel is. Actually,
it was a Red Roof Inn. We called it the Red Rum Inn after Shining, right? And we got there and the bottom of the door was kicked in, right? It looked like there was blood stains on the friggin' floor, and it was fucking awesome though. It was so funny. But as I get a little older, a little more mature, I think I like to stay in the fancy hotels.
Me too.
The Willard
that's why
would
we
be
need
very.
to go to the Willard sometime.
The Willard is very mandatory. We stayed in a really nice one in Baltimore when I was there last time. But those places are pretty good. So so TripAdvisor, Fritz. Yes, that's what we're doing.
We won't review the hotels we stay at on our road trips for sure.
But just understand, we're trying to save your life.
Yep.
Look at the bright side. Do not stay at the Red Roof Inn in Taylor, Michigan.
No, don't. And I've driven by it and read the reviews actually. But yeah, there was one where I'm like, love yourself enough not to stay here.
The Willow though, we stayed in a place when I was in Washington last time.
Right?
There's a Marriott. There's a Marriott right next to where I stayed at one time. But there's a place a couple blocks down in a portion of the town called Foggy Bottom, which it was like the fifth. I forget the name of the hotel, but it was really, really nice. DC's got some great hotels.
Yeah.
But the Willard though, oh my God, that's the place you want to stay.
Yeah. And Paul said the Willard, where many government deals were made during that era. Yes, as Darren said. And as everybody can see, I have my Gettysburg blanket with me today.
A big rebel flag on it, but
fuck off. It's got the fucking American flag on it too, fucker. See, look.
I'm just anyway. So, I think we're pretty much getting ready to finish this up here, Mary. I think this has been. Oh my God, this is. We've been going for a while, so.
Wow, it has not felt like a long.
No, this is a good. This is a what's it's 12. What time do we? 10:30. It's about two and a half hours. So it's about right.
No, that's about average for our Facebook Lives. That's oh my God.
Do you remember a couple hours ago when you were like, "Fuck this, fuck Zoom, this sucks, I'm gonna cry." Remember that?
Can you imagine how your afternoon's gonna be now?
That was like that was like 2 hours ago. You've done a 180, so good for you. But anyway, so I think we're good. So just a couple of future coming attractions. So next podcast is going to be about McClellan and Lincoln's meeting at Antietam.
Yep, and we're going to talk about some other areas of the Civil War too, what their status was at, and I think we're going to take it to December.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a busy November, action-packed.
November is going to be Gettysburg Address, 2 episodes about the battles for Chattanooga, and then an episode about Franklin. So that's going to be our November. We actually sat down and planned, because we do legit plan these things. We are definitely having Jay Price is going to be on to talk Ghost with us, which is going to be an awesome talk. We have episode 10 coming up, the one after this one. So, oh my God.
So Paul says, he says, an old girlfriend stayed at the Motel 6 on a West one time. She could see the remnants of a chalk outline on a room's rug. I stayed in a place. So I gotta tell one more hotel story. I just have to. You know what? It pops in my head. So I found myself in Albany one time, Albany, New York, which is the 5th ring of hell in my opinion, but that's another story. So I was in Albany, New York, and we were staying at a hotel, and we were some friends of ours. We were standing in the hotel lot in the hallway, just drinking, sitting outside with the cans, just shooting the shit. And we kept noticing that there were these dudes down the hall kept going in and out of this room. And we were watching them. So we were sitting there, and so one after the other, this guys kept going in there. And so finally, the last guy goes in. And all of a sudden, this woman, I don't know, comes out of the hotel. And it's obviously a guy in a wig. And he's like, "Are you guys going to come in?" And I'm like, "No," right? And finally, the last guy who went in there comes walking by us. And he walks by us and he goes, "It gets better every time." Scared them. That was on Wolf. It was a Motel 6 on Wolf Avenue in Albany, and it was the funniest goddamn thing. It was like some transvestite guy, like turning tricks in a room. And there was guys. There was guys lined up, like 6 guys lined up one at a time to get in this friggin' room, and we're just watching. And we're sitting there watching this whole thing go by. And then the last person comes by and his hair is all messed up and frazzled. And he's like, "It gets better every time." I was like, "Fuck you, man."
God.
Nope. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Oh, God.
So that's
some pretty shady places.
Yeah.
But never that.
No, that was bad. That was bad. Oh my God, was that bad?
Oh my God.
But that's the best hotel story. So anyway, so that's my Albany story. So if you go to Albany, stay at a nice place downtown. Don't stay at the fucking Wolf Road. Freaking
yeah, and I can't remember what the
town.
hotel was where I think I don't know, it was in Michigan where I read "Love yourself enough not to stay here." Like that was.
That's quality advice, though. That's quality advice.
There was another one where I read that they went to ask for more towels and they said they were out of towels.
Well, I asked for towels one time, and you know what this was? What the fuck was this? This was in Atlanta for the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. We asked for new towels, and they gave us towels, but they were wet and obviously used.
Ew.
So they grabbed towels from the room and folded them and said, "Here's your new fucking towels." It was awful. It was awful. That's what happens when you stay in friggin' Kennesaw, save some money.
Jesus.
But anyway,
we're getting a legit hotel for.
Oh yeah, good stuff. So anyway. Right?
Dave says my mother handmade a Civil War blanket with blue trim when I was a kid. I'll post it on Twitter. Awesome. We will be sure to retweet that for you too, Gabe. Well, nice. That's awesome.
As we were saying before, next week we're going to do a podcast on McClellan and Lincoln.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. And there's probably going to be some text messages, I think there, right?
I think so, yep.
I think there is. We haven't really talked about this, but I think they probably will.
Yeah. And we didn't actually mention it on the podcast if you had actually been listening to it.
Wow, look at you go, huh? Wow, look at you go.
You were the one that said that, fucker.
But we will do we will do that, and then we will basically do a live about it. That'll be a fun podcast. But again, a couple things on October 21st, 2020 AD, we are going to do the first inaugural Civil War Breakfast Club roundtable meeting on Zoom. And as long as Zoom fucking works, like it didn't work today, we'll be able to get that going. And so we're going to bring everybody in, have a big group thing, and just shoot the shit. No agenda, no topic. We're just going to get together, talk about whatever you want to talk about, Civil War stuff. We're going to bring you all in and talk specifically about about different battles, your own personal Civil War experiences, what resonates to you, what battlefield you like, what you don't like, whether Stonewall Jackson would have made a difference at Gettysburg, or fucking who cares?
Whether O. Howard was more awesome than Wheaton. Definitely was.
Exactly. We're going to talk about all that. Whatever you want to talk about, it's going to be wide open. We just want to bring everybody in and because the Civil War academia world could be a little intimidating, and we're not really into that. So we just want to have people together and just have fun and just have a good time with it. So bring your beers. Prepare to talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is not a lecture thing. It's just us hanging out. What are you laughing at?
I'm losing my mind over Fritz's comment.
What the hell did he say now?
I forgot to mention the Pornhub portion of the show. Can't leave that out. Civil War After Dark.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Fucking Bush Red.
We talked about the Civil War. We talked about Hancock and the neon stuff.
Bushrod. Civil War
Actually,
After Dark.
You know what?
Daniel,
you know what?
You and I are supposed to write a novel under a pen name, and Jen is going to illustrate it.
Well, man, oh shit, good illustrations right there. It's funny Fritz mentions that. So we were actually talking to our friend Jess, actually Mary's friend Jess, and we're going to bring her on for a podcast as a guest, and we're going to talk about sex in the Civil War. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. So there's going to be that'll be a fun friggin' Facebook Live.
Oh, yeah, because hopefully she can join us for that Facebook Live too. She's a really awesome person. She's JJ. What's her Twitter?
I don't know, but Jessica Jewett is her name, right? Yeah. And so we're going to bring her on, and she's going to be a guest. And apparently she's an expert on sex in the Civil War, because that does exist. Yeah. And so we're going to have a whole podcast dedicated to just that. Yeah. And that'll be coming up pretty soon. So that'll probably be our most popular podcast, I'd imagine. Probably. I don't know if this will be visuals or not. Maybe this will go right to RedTube. We don't know.
Who knows?
It can be. But
I think we're going to have her on to talk about Chamberlain too, because she's
okay. But so if you want to talk Civil War After Dark, there is something in the works about sex in the Civil War. We're going to talk about pretty soon. That'll be a fun one, admittedly. So we'll talk about that. So we'll definitely get her involved.
That was like the comment of the day was Fritz right there.
Yeah, Fritz brings it. He does. He does.
Thank you, Fritz.
And it's definitely so. Anyway, so I think that's good for now. I think we're good. Yeah. Because the bladder is pretty much full at this point. So I think we're ready to get that. I think we're ready to go. So don't drink 2 coffees and 4 beers.
I drank 3 sour beers during this. It's
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I had 3. I'm drinking my Rodney Dangerfield coming to school, back to school beer right here.
I might grab a fourth for the post game that we usually do. So.
Definitely. So anyway, so Mary, pleasure as always.
Yep, awesome.
And so we will talk soon. So we will be back on. We're going to record on Tuesday for the McClellan. That'll drop next Saturday morning, as long as Mary has time to edit and doesn't fall asleep. And
fucker.
But then we'll be ready to go for the Facebook Live next Saturday. So again, thanks for watching as always.
Yeah,
don't forget about
awesome.
Don't forget about the roundtable coming up on the 21st. We're going to do this every single month. And any ideas you have, feel free to drop them off. And keep follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook.
And at gmail.com. Just shoot us an email. This bastard here, Darren, does not.
She's going to respond. She's going to respond. It's not going to be me. Mary's going to respond.
Checking the email. So anyway, that's left up to me.
It is what it is. Mary's going to do it.
Apparently, I'm the responsible adult in this relationship. So here we go.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
I know you're not, fuckers.
You know, you get the brains and the looks of this operation. Ain't gonna be me. Ain't me. Trust me. But anyway, so we'll look forward to talking to you all next time. And anyway, yeah, give us a shout if you are any ideas you have. We're certainly willing to do it, but we got a bunch of stuff planned. So thanks for checking us out as always. Cheers to y'all. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. It's a long weekend for the United States and for Canada.
Yes,
so have a safe one. So fucking A, fling it. Have a great time. And we will look forward to talking to you all next time when we talk about McClellan and Lincoln and God knows what the hell else. So enjoy.
See you later.
Take care.
Take us off Facebook Live now.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Peace out.
Okay, we're off the live.
That was long, huh?